people would mention it, but I didn't know what it was. When I came back to Cincinnati, everybody's like, "Oh my God, Jungle Jim's." I'm like, "What is Jungle Jim's?" I don't.
Yeah. Did you want a beer, by the way? Did you want a beer?
I'm good.
Okay. I didn't.
No.
It was an open invitation for everybody
No.
to
I love the
partake.
aesthetic of the can, bro. That's fire. We gotta hold on to a couple.
All right.
Yeah. In the store.
All right, let's do this.
How's it going, bro?
Sir. Going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jay Banks. It's Tuesday,
Hey,
beer day. You know what time it is.
beer day, bro.
What's crazy? Did you open yours yet?
I have not about to.
Hey,
Crack it right on that microphone.
Yeah,
Makes
let's
a
do
great
it.
sound effect.
Oh, it sounded so pretty.
Right?
My turn. Here we go. Ready?
Sounds refreshing.
Ooh.
Yeah, I feel like mine was like an 8 or 9, and yours was maybe like a 6 though.
Yeah, mine was a little weak.
Can confirm.
But you
So-
know,
Can confirm. 8 or 9.
yeah,
That's about like
there
a
was
six.
there was some splash with his like
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, you gotta
I was-
go for it.
I went soft with it.
Right?
All right, man. So we are
Yes, sir.
actually drinking a local beer here. This is by 16 Lots Brewery, and one of the owners is with us right now, Del Hall. What's going on, big dog?
What's up, fellas? Dude, I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, man.
Like,
Happy to have you.
I love you guys. I love your brand. I am so excited about being your new neighbors.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
legit. I'm so impressed with your setup, with your store, with your brand, with your story. So
Thank you, man.
it is my honor to be here.
Thank you. I'm impressed with this beer, dude. This is
Solid.
it's cream and honey raspberry treaty, bro. And this
Yeah.
is it's like the perfect raspberry wheat beer, which is like one of my favorites. But we can talk about later on what we were trying to work on with the beer that you and I were going to do. It's something that's got to be a little bit cheaper, and I want to try to get it where it's like one of those $2, the next
Right.
Hootapole, right?
For the masses.
For the masses,
Yep.
yeah. So you got it. Obviously, you can't have expensive things like hops and. Let me see the can that you got. Hold it up so they can see it. The camera's right here.
So that's Soak City. This is our flagship. This is our juicy IPA. So, I'm a beer guy, so I know beer stats and things like that. So in the craft beer world, 44% of all beer sold is some version of an IPA.
That's crazy.
So that's why this is our flagship, and it's delicious.
That's that's an impressive stat too when you think about how many people are just drinking Miller Lite and Bud Light.
Right.
An IPA has so much of a distinctive taste,
Yep.
but that's one of those things that once you've had beer for so long, you want something with a little bit of flavor because it all like the Bud
Yep.
Light and Miller Lights all taste watered down, man.
Well, it's like, remember, I mean, I know you do because you're like a brand historian.
I try,
right?
bro. Yeah.
So like, remember Keystone, the bitter beer face?
Oh yeah.
Right? That's literally what IPA is.
Yeah.
Like, hops are what makes it IPA, and that's a bittering agent.
Yeah.
So people want that bitter.
Yeah.
So when the
Okay.
Keystone was talking about bitter beer face, it was literally like craft beer came along and said, "Nah, this is what people want.
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
they want bitter."
Yeah.
Right.
And it's cool too because it's like I don't know. It felt like it wasn't too long ago where beer was just kind of like a mundane thing, and all of a sudden when the IPAs came in, everything just started to ramp up, and then people really started to get their mad scientist on where they can just test different things and throw them in there to see what works, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, if you want to talk about like the history of beer, so like pre-prohibition, especially like Cincinnati, Ohio, was a mecca for beer. There was a brewery on every corner of every neighborhood. It was very, very like hyper local, right?
Yep.
Then Prohibition came along and it kind of like squashed the entire brewing industry, and it took them a long time to bounce back. So long that a lot of people don't know this. So Jim Cook from he started Boston Beer Company.
Oh, yeah.
He's from Cincinnati, right? He got the recipe for Sam Adams from his 4-time great-grandfather, who was the brewmaster of a place up in northern Ohio called Wooden Shoe in Minster, Ohio.
Okay.
It's a Vienna lager is what that beer is, right? So he brews this beer. He takes it out to the Great American Beer Festival in like 1982, wins the whole thing, right? Back then it was just like a competition. Now it's like, 50 categories.
Right.
But back then it was one competition, like top 10. He wins the whole thing and just figures out he left like a 6-figure job in like 82
Oh, wow.
to start this brewery. When he filed for his brewery license in 1982, he was the 50th brewery in the United States.
Holy cow.
Okay? Fast forward to 2012, 50 West Brewing Company here in Cincinnati, when they filed for their brewing license, they were the 50th just in Ohio,
Oh wow.
right? So from 50 in the country in 82 to 50th in Ohio in 2012 to now, we have over 60 breweries just in Cincinnati.
Oh wow.
There's almost 500 breweries in Ohio now.
Well,
So
yeah.
that's the boom right
the
there.
growth it's astronomical. It's
Yeah.
like it's a wave. It's hitting fast, and it's it still seems like it's picking up steam. Like I mean, there's so many are popping up all over. I mean, where we're at in Dayton, things are popping up too, and breweries are popping up, and even
Yep.
small areas like that. So like if smaller little side cities are getting this kind of growth because I mean
Right.
Cincinnati is growing crazy. We're at a new area code,
Yeah.
so like the growth is happening all over,
Right.
and breweries are just part of. I mean, it's not even like one of those things where I mean, you know how people used to think like trendy, like hipster craft beer, but now it's hitting everyone. Everyone is just on board, and we're here for it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
craft beer is actually taking a little bit of a hit, and it's taken a hit because of seltzers.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
okay,
sure.
yeah,
You
for
know?
sure, yeah.
So, and that's one of the biggest reasons. You look at the market and how it's segmented. Seltzers have come in, and it's like gangbusters, right? Like the big wave of White Claw,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's really taken craft beer down a notch.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of craft breweries, such as ourselves, we'll have our own right
Seltzer.
here. We'll have our own seltzers.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
and
very
a lot of
cool.
breweries do
Smart.
that. Like March 1st, you guys have seen the Astra brand,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, we
Dude,
had
I'm
some.
telling you, so they're brewing like 8,000 barrels, which is a lot of beer in the grand scheme of things. But they're doing 8,000 barrels of seltzer.
That's crazy.
Wow.
You know what I was thinking the other day too, man? Do you think Zima was too early on the game?
It was.
Like, think about that, dude. Like, they were pretty much the first like seltzer style beer, and everybody would make fun of somebody for drinking it,
Yep.
right? Like,
Yeah, we used to put Jolly Ranchers in it.
yeah, to
To
give it a
flavor
little
it.
bit of flavor. But
Yep.
that's one of those things where it's like they were ahead of the time, man. Because if they were able to hang on, they'd probably be at the top of the food chain, man.
Yeah, you think about it, they're the original White Claw.
Yeah.
Like everyone knows White Claw, right? But Zima was it.
Yeah. And maybe it was the way the bottle was made, because I remember it had those grooves in it
Yeah,
that
the
felt a
thin-
little different.
The skinny neck
Yep.
and the grooves.
Yeah,
You know,
man.
they did they did a reset on that, and they came back out maybe like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I
And they had
remember.
remember they had a big thing with Zima.
Yeah, that was that still getting iced? Was that no? That was Smirnoff.
Flash in the pan. It
Yeah,
was
that
just
was
a flash in
Smirnoff.
the pan. It was here, then it was gone.
It's crazy, dude. And for somebody like that too, you think, that was a nationwide company, right? So they had a little bit. They had backing. So if they could have just held on and just kind of just pivoted with the times instead of just folding up and leaving, man. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that was brewed by.
I think it was Miller Coors.
Okay, so they should have came back with it.
Yeah,
man.
they should've.
They should have been on top of the game for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, they're already ahead of the game. So.
I wonder if that was if Miller Coors was the original, or they got bought out
Yeah.
Right.
on the
Well,
second
back
time
then it
around.
wasn't even the same company. So back then Miller was a separate company. Coors was a separate company. They
Oh.
merged not that long ago. Now I say Miller Coors in my world.
Okay,
So
that's good to know, man. Is that so? So when it comes to Bud Light, Miller Light, is which one are you lean towards?
So here's my hierarchy of you're at a dive bar,
Yeah.
right? So any dive bar, if I walk up to the bar, I ask them for a Coors Banquet,
Okay. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Pre Yellowstone,
Yeah.
pre Cobra Kai really brought back Coors Banquet, right?
Yeah,
Everybody's
yeah.
like, oh, Coors Banquet. Like I was like Stubby, 1936 Stubby bottles were always in my fridge. I love that beer. I've been to the Mothership out in Golden, Colorado. It's an amazing experience. So I always walk up and I say, can I get a Coors Banquet?
Yeah.
And they say, oh, sorry, we don't have Coors Banquet. I'm like, can I get a Miller High Life?
High Life.
That's what I
Right?
go with you.
Champagne.
So I'll take a Miller High Life, even if it's in the little grenade, right? The little
Yeah,
7
yeah,
ounce, little 7 ounce. They call them grenades. And then last but not least, if they don't have either of those, I'll do a PBR,
There you go.
the Peebers.
Yeah. Yep.
For sure.
I used to work at Kruger's Tavern.
Yeah.
And they had a Coors Banquet.
Yep.
Yep. They had the banquet.
They had it actually on tap.
Yeah, they had on tap. Yes, they had
Kruger's
on tap.
had it on tap.
Yep. I was actually gonna get there. Yeah, they had it on tap, and then
Yep.
yeah. But I also go with the High Life in most places.
Yeah.
When I'm out. Yeah, it's just
Kruger's Tavern. I always
Yeah.
think of sitting there and having a Coors Banquet, and they used to have that like vinegar, salt and vinegar aioli for the fries. It was
Yeah.
like remind you of having like fish and chips without the fish.
right. Yeah, yeah.
It's
I
dope.
mean, Kruger's there. They have a new spot. So
They're
they
opening
moved
one
it,
up
yeah,
in
yeah,
up
yeah.
near my Mason location.
Oh, are they?
They're opening. So they're opening up. They're part of 40G.
Yeah.
And they're opening up one in Deerfield up in Mason.
They're
Very cool.
They opened one at they closed the one by Bakersfield, extended Bakersfield, and they moved Kruger's another one downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah. I worked there for a while. All my friends are still in there out there because like
Yeah.
the Kruger's burger, man, that's like that's it.
Oh, yeah,
That's
dude.
so good.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, opening this is so 16 Lots Southern Outpost. Obviously, we're your new neighbors, and this is our first foray into the restaurant world. Up in Mason, we don't have a restaurant. We actually lease a pizza place called Mad Monks to Max, who is the owner of Habaneros in Clifton.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's our partner. We just lease the space to him. So we've never been restaurateurs. So this is our first like venture into the restaurant space, and it's such a high profile. I know Bob Deck, one of the owners of 4EG and founder of 4EG. He did the Beeline. He does, so I pick his brain a lot. So I'll send him a text or something. Say, hey Bob, like who do you use for this, or what do you do for this in this situation? So
Nice.
And that's great too. That somebody like him's willing to drop the knowledge and not say, "Hey, go find it yourself," right? Because
absolutely,
there's different types of people, man. There's the ones that want to hold on to that recipe to Coca-Cola and they don't want to give it to anybody, and then you got these other people that are like, dude, if we can bounce the ball within the court, like Bob Deck's got a place here at the Levee too. So like I say this on every episode, man. High tides rise all ships.
absolutely.
So it's,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's one of those things where in his world, I've sold him beer for years.
Yeah.
Right? So I started I was a distributor for years, and I sold like a lot of the big brands. I sold Bell's and Founders and Lagunitas and Ballast Point. And then I went to 50 West Brewing Company. I was the director of sales there, selling them a lot of beer. And now I own my own brewery now at 16 Lots. So, I've sold him beer for years, and he's had that relationship. And they're great dudes. Just everyone at 4EG is awesome, But you talk about just beer in general, I always say it's craft love.
Yeah.
So there's so many breweries here in Cincinnati. And like I said, there's over 60 of us now. And if we just butted heads all the time and we didn't collaborate and we weren't trying to have that where we were that high tide raising all ships.
Yeah.
So I always say it's all craft love. So back 4 or 5 years ago when I was getting a ton of national and international exposure and stuff like that. People were like, well, aren't you salty that he's getting all this exposure?
Right.
But if you really talk to the people who the owners and who run these craft breweries, I don't talk a whole lot about my own brand.
Right.
I talk about Cincinnati.
Right.
And I want to raise Cincinnati up in the grand scheme of things. So when people look at us, they think Cincinnati that's a really good beer city.
Right.
And I think that'll serve me better over the years talking about Cincinnati as a whole than just trying to monopolize the time and just trying to raise my brand.
Right.
You know what? My brand's going to do fine. We got a lot of talented people behind it, and we do a really good product, and it's gonna raise itself. I don't have to keep boosting it up.
Sure.
But I feel when I get a lot of attention, I just talk about Cincinnati, and talk about how cool of a city we have here,
Yeah.
and all the fun things we're doing in beer in the city. And I feel like now a lot of folks in the beer world, they understand that, and they realize they're like, no, Dell's not like that. He's not like an egomaniac. He's
Right.
not this they say a beer celebrity.
Yeah.
Right. This is going around doing this. It's more for Cincinnati than it is for my own brand.
For sure. Yeah, and that was one of the things, man. Before I even met you, I heard through the grapevine there was a couple people like, "Hey, you got to meet Dell. You got to meet Dell." And every single person that told me to connect with you, they had nothing but the highest regard. Dude, you have to meet this guy. He's such a great guy. And obviously, the second I met you, it was Bengal Jim. He was dragging me through the crowd. I know you were busy over there on the Purple People Bridge, but he was like, dude, you got to meet him. And it's just been love ever since then, man. It's you meet people and it's I'll see him again. But then you see people and it's I feel like we've been friends for 20 years,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I talk about, I love the brand, right? Your native brand, and the moniker. You do a lot of native stuff, but native, 513.
Yeah.
And I was I take a lot of pride in that because I'm a native 513er.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not from Cincinnati.
Right.
I'm
Me
from
either.
Dayton, Ohio. Dayton, Ohio, when I was coming up in the 70s and 80s, was 513.
Yeah.
My area code growing up was 513.
Oh, wow.
Right? It's 937 now.
Yeah.
That didn't happen until the 90s.
Right.
Right? I left in the night, but growing up, my telephone number was 513, and I take a lot of pride in that. So I rock
sure.
the native. I rock your brand. I'm like, Del, you're not from. I'm like, born and raised 513.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's and then I appreciate you saying that too, man, because you know we're in this lane, and it's like, you know, I started the brand with an Ohio logo, and right away people wanted me to pull that logo and do a Kentucky version, but it didn't make sense to me, right? Because it was like the NATI was highlighted for Cincinnati, and you know I didn't want to stress that logo out, man, because it's just one of those things where, you know, it as an artist it just doesn't look right. So that's when I came up with the Arch logo, and then started doing all the area codes, and then I really found a path where it's like, hey, I can, you know, this can be a chameleon in every single city that we
Absolutely.
go to, right? So,
Yep.
yeah, man, I appreciate it. You know, if looking around the store, it's like, you know, it looks like a kid with money, right? That was able to put this all together, and this is what my bedroom looked like as a kid, right?
Yep.
But you know, we're just in here just plugging away, and we're the same way, man. It's not like come buy clothes. Like, you know, people come in here and hang out all the time, and we're trying to give people an experience, not just
Yep.
like a packed sun. How there's just
Yeah.
T-shirts from floor to
Right.
ceiling, and you're stepping over stuff. And
Yep. It has to be an experience.
Yeah.
for sure.
It literally does. I mean, like, number one gift giving idea of 2022, experiences,
Yeah,
right? Like, it's, you have to do that, whether, you know, whatever brand you're building, you have to make it an experience.
and that was something that we learned with Tim and Adam,
Yep.
the two guys that run the Levee here. So those guys, they you know, when they saw the first store, when they said, hey, we're going to give you 150 G's to build this out, they Adam pulls out this little you know pocket
Yeah.
thing. He goes, I want you guys to see something. You know, January, this is our New Year's resolutions that we're doing. And he's like, 3 things that we're doing is tell stories. He's like, you guys are storytelling, you know,
Yep.
and then interactive. And it was like all 3 of them. He's like, you guys are already doing it here, and this is on the list for us to get done this year.
Yep.
So the fact
Experience
that you guys,
makers.
Yeah.
Experience makers was the big one too. The storytelling was huge too.
Yeah.
That was a big part. And the interactive was something that kind of was he was in it with it, but like the top is the experience makers, and like we were all about the interactive.
Mhm.
But doubling down on the experience is a part of that. So like when they come into the store, it's like they're not just here shopping, they're here like living inside our world,
Yeah.
kind of, when they're in our space. And then
Yep.
they learn a bunch of new that they didn't know before.
Right.
Especially people that come from out of town. Like on Sundays a lot, it's like the touristy time
Yeah.
for the Levee. You'll see quickly. Sundays are the day. That is the day.
I feel like I got the same vibe from Adam. So,
Yeah.
like, you know, we got approached by a lot of folks over, you know, I came in, so I left 50 West during the pandemic, and I came in as owner of 16 Lots, and I changed up the branding and started working on, you know, everything you see.
Yeah.
We never really canned beer before, and I started working on all that and working on grocery channels and working on getting our beer in distribution and all those things. And, like, you know, when we met with Adam, we was telling him, like, you know, this is our vision. I'd had that vision for several years because when I first came in, the first article the Cincinnati Enquirer wrote about me coming over to 16 Lots, I made a comment in there that said, you know, I'm a city guy. I was raised in the inner city. I went to public schools my whole life. I live in the inner city now, you know, and our brewery now is in the suburbs. And it's great, right? But I always wanted to have a brewery in the heart of it. I wanted it something close to downtown.
For sure.
I wanted something that's going to be really diverse and really, you know, in the heart of it. And I said that in that first article in the Enquirer. People started reaching out immediately. They say, hey, we saw you in the Enquirer. You're looking at a second location. You need to look over here at the East End. You need to look on the West Side. You need to look here. You need to look, you know, look there. And they kept giving us opportunities.
Yeah.
Well, when the Levee reached out, because we didn't come to the Levee came to us.
Awesome.
And was like, hey, like, we're really looking for like a liquid manufacturer, like a distillery, a brewery, someone that's gonna, you know, like that kind of atmosphere. Would you guys be interested to come take a look at the space? And then they told me that it was the old J Hall,
Yep.
Jefferson Hall,
and
right?
you got that little dance in your,
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I'm
in your
like,
stomach.
so like
let's
legit,
go.
like, so my business partner Mike Burton used to live down here in Newport, and that was literally his hangout. Like, he always went to
shit.
J Hall.
Yeah.
You know,
We all did.
I lived a little north, and every time I came down to the Levee, I do hang out at J Hall.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, man, this is like kismet.
Yeah.
Like, this is a, you know. So I told Mike, we're like, hey, did you read that email from the realtor? Did you read that and what that space is? And he got his eyes lit up and he got giddy.
Oh,
That
yeah.
it was J Hall, and he knew going into this. He was like, man, I know what that used to be. I know what it can be,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then like all I did was like we met with them, we met with Adam, we met with the realtors and everyone, and then I had like a deck built of like my vision, because I had a vision board going.
Yeah.
Of,
Yeah.
here's what
Yeah.
I want in our next space, and like this is what I want it to be, and it's this Explorers Club, right? It's this, you know, like leather and wrought iron and steel, and like you walk in and it's like the people are sitting around, they're smoking cigars and they're talking about, you know, traveling the world and exploring. And, you know, I had this whole vision. I sent that to them, and that's, you know, they fell in love with that.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
you know, like
for sure.
some people, because we have, obviously it's a craft brewery,
Mm-hmm.
from scratch kitchen, right? We're keeping the stage, having live music,
Very cool.
and we got approved to have a cigar patio. So
Oh,
our
that's
patio
awesome.
is the only place here in the Levee you're allowed to smoke. You know this.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to walk outside
Yeah.
You got to be off
and
property.
smoke.
Yeah.
You got to be
Right.
off property.
Yeah.
Well, not anymore. Like you're allowed to smoke in our place. You're allowed to
That
smoke in our
is
patio.
Game changer.
Right?
It is going to be a game changer.
And
for sure.
someone locally that owns a cigar bar here in Newport called me up immediately. The first article they wrote about coming here to Newport, and he was like, "Del, how did you get a cigar patio? I've been trying to get a cigar bar in Newport on the Levee for a long time." And I was like, "I asked for it."
Right.
Like, you know, it's not just like we're not just like focusing on cigars and having like a small space.
Right.
We're renting this corner, right? I mean, this is like 10,000 square foot of space over here, and it's a big amount that we're going to spend on a monthly basis. And when I pitched them, I didn't just pitch them like, "Hey, I want cigars,"
Yeah.
or I didn't just pitch them, "We're in a brewery."
Right.
I'm pitching them this Explorers Club.
The whole package.
I'm pitching, yeah, it's experience. Like this is
Yeah.
going to be an experience for folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you know, it wasn't a question. They were just like, "Yep, you can have cigars." I was like,
And
I
that's-
love Kentucky.
And that's how awesome the Levee is, man. They come through and they see the vision, and they let you run with it, man. Because, you know, I had a pop-up shop in 2019 just during Christmas time, and then when we were outside, it was a 24-hour lease, bro. So they basically said, like, do what you want, but, you know, don't mess up. Or if anybody wants to rent this out, you got 24 hours to get all of your stuff out of there. So they basically like let me run with the rope to either hang myself or run with it,
Yep.
right? And they fell in love with it. And this stage here, Kenwood, when we had a Christmas shop up there, they hated it, man. We had one couch, 2 microphones, and then a little ticker that just had our follower count, and then a little QR code. And Kenwood flipped out. Like,
Yeah.
are you guys broadcasting out of the mall? Like, it's illegal. You can't do that. They threatened to pull our lease, and we were like, no, we haven't gone live yet. Like,
Yeah, we get a
Right.
chance.
Planning on it.
We
Little-
just set it up. Yeah.
Little too bougie,
Yeah.
little
Yep.
too highfalutin
yeah.
Yep.
up there. But you guys are
100%.
the perfect fit here, man.
And that's the thing, man. Like, you know, I still remember, like, all I did was I took little black markers and I marked off where we're going to put this stage, and I just put podcast stage. I wrote it on the floor, and I got one of the first people to like the photo on Instagram was Tim Perry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about, dude. Like,
Yeah.
like he loves what we're doing here, and you know, we're trying to push the boundaries of retail because retail's dying, man. It's just one of those things where everyone's shopping online. Foot Lockers, they're getting rid of
All the mall stores,
400 mall stores.
Yeah.
They're closing down.
They're
Well,
opening up
that-
actual solid locations.
Brick and mortars.
Yeah, brick and mortars by
Yeah.
themselves. Yeah.
I was just at Kenwood, like walking around Kenwood, and I don't remember what store it was. Like it wasn't Nordstrom, it wasn't maybe it was Dillard's. I don't know, but I'm walking through and I look to my left and I see Foot Locker.
Yeah.
It's inside one of those big box stores, and it's just the shoe section.
Oh,
It's called
yeah.
Foot Locker now.
Yeah.
So I'm like looked over and I saw that, you know what I mean? Like I'm not a huge sneakerhead, but I'm a little bit of a sneakerhead. And I saw like that sign said Foot Locker, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And it was inside. It was just what their shoe section's called now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's smart though, man. You got to pivot, you know. And it's
Yep.
like like the retail space when it comes to malls, like it just keeps getting higher and higher and higher on the price, and it's like, you know, there's a lot of these small mom and pop shops can't pay the $5,000 to $7,000 a month to survive, but
Yep.
you know, the Sunglass Hut or like the Oakley, you know, like they've got unlimited
Yeah.
money, but it's
Right. It's all Luxottica. Right?
Yeah.
It's a huge corporation.
right, and it's just like one of those things, man, where you know the Foot Locker, they're opening up. They're closing 400 mall stores, but they're opening up 300 brick and mortars. So they're going to have their own store, like with I'm assuming it's going to be. It sounded like it's going to be where you can try the shoes on, you know, and then a little basketball court or a little running track where you can try the stuff on right there. But it's one of those things where you got to pivot on times like this, and that's why like everyone's asking me like, why don't you just go online? It's like I'm trying to reinvent the wheel, dude. Like give me a minute. Like I'm trying to do this interactive retail where we give you guys an experience and just instead of coming down and buying clothes.
Right.
But,
I mean, we're pretty upfront about it. So it's we preach interactive retail. We know that retail is on the decline, but meanwhile, some malls like Kenwood are still thriving. So like they are still going to be, the people shopping are going to be somewhere.
Right.
So like we just want to reach to the point to where people are realizing there's something here that's just a little bit different, and they make their way. And before you know it, that snowball effect will take place.
Yeah. I'm instant gratification, right? I mean, everyone's kind of like, everyone likes instant gratification. Like, I like the experience of going and like physically touching a shoe or touching a shirt, feeling the material, trying it on. Like, all right, this is dope. I like this.
Right.
Even with Amazon, even if it's same day or next day delivery, you're still like, you're buying it before you ever touch it. Right? You don't see it in person. You can look at a screen all day long, but I like that experience.
Yeah, for sure. And with us, man, like we spend the extra $3 to $4 per tee to get the nicer tees on our side, and it ends up traveling a lot further, man. Like I started the brand with Bella Canvas, and like they have the really soft hoodies. I could have done Gildan, and I would have sold a bunch of them, but they would have gone in somebody's drawer. They would have bought it to support me, and then they would have put it in the drawer and never wore it. But because I used the extra $4 or $5 on my side to buy the nicer hoodies, turns out that they wear the hoodie 3 to 4 days a week because it's their favorite hoodie.
Yeah. I have drawers full of like the Gildan stuff. That's like, they're cool logos. It means something. I went there and I bought it, and it's like an experience, a memory. Yeah. But I don't want to, and it's not comfortable. I don't want to wear it. Yep. I'll turn it into like a blanket or something, right? Like put like t-shirts together.
Yeah.
But like like you said, like the Bella Canvas and stuff like that. It's like I wear those every day. I'm a beer guy. So right. That's like the main brand that's out in the beer world.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. So when it comes to the beers, man, you were talking about the Coors Light earlier, and what was Coors was Banquet the like? Because I remember Coors was like the creme de la creme. It was like Yuengling was before Yuengling went nationwide. Like you can only buy Yuengling in like Pittsburgh or something.
Yeah, you can only get it. You could back in the day. You could only get it in Pennsylvania, and then it would be like Pennsylvania, New York, neighboring states. Yeah. But Coors was the same way. Coors wasn't available east of the Mississippi.
Colorado or something.
It was west of the Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
You cross over the Mississippi, they would sell Coors.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But there's just some invisible line that you're allowed to buy it.
Yeah. What was it? Man, what is that old movie with Burt Reynolds? Like Cannonball Run.
Oh yeah.
That was a whole thing about like he was so good at like doing these runs because he would run and like bootleg Coors to east of the Mississippi.
That's dope, dude.
Yeah.
So is it true that when Coors went nationwide, they kind of just didn't plummet, but they didn't stay at the top of the food chain, like, because I heard people used to travel to get Coors Light, and then all of a sudden they just went nationwide like overnight, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, you can get it anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know that story. Like if there was a dip in the sales, or I know that like with the Yuengling. Like, that was always a big deal. Like, being in Ohio, we were a border state of Pennsylvania. Right. And so Pennsylvania always had these real weird, archaic laws, too. Mm-hmm. So up until like 2015, you couldn't buy a 6-pack in Pennsylvania. You had to buy it by the case. So you couldn't go in a store and buy a 6-pack in Pennsylvania. You had to buy it by the case.
That's a funky
like
rule.
when you went to anywhere in Pennsylvania, you had to literally buy a case of it. So people would be like, bring me back a case of Yuengling. Yeah. Because that was the law.
Oh.
No shit.
Interesting. Is that all beer?
Yeah, it was all beer.
Beer.
So when they used to have these like in Pennsylvania, they'd have these huge warehouses. So when you went to Pennsylvania, like places would have like in Pittsburgh there was a place called D's 6-packs, and it was like it's a hot dog shop that like sold because they had like a weird like food tie-in that they could sell a 6-pack. So they would advertise 6-pack so that people knew like I could go there and buy a 6-pack. But it was a dime a dozen. If you went somewhere to get beer, you would have to pull it to like a dock, and you would walk in and it would just be industrial racks of beer. And you're like, I want a case of this and a case of this. And you bought it by the case.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. That is
and that's a loophole. So what, the guy was like selling a hot dog with a drink?
Correct. Yeah. That's what D's did.
That's crazy. Yeah. Yep. So it was a hot dog with 72 ounces of beer.
Yep.
Genius.
Genius.
right?
Smart
Thinking
people
outside
out
the
there.
box.
Yeah, they are.
Right. So, and you were talking earlier, man. So, the whole beer liberty celebrity
Beer
Beer
celebrity.
lab.
beer liberty.
Beer
Yeah,
lab.
yeah, yeah.
I love that. That's
Yeah, I got tongue twisted on that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's taken you pretty far, man.
Yeah.
This is so. Let's go ahead and get to your 46 days of just drinking beer, because that's something that's
Wild.
well. Not only is it wild, it's so genius too, because that puts 16 lots on the map,
True.
but it also gets rid of this fear that like beer is so harmful to you,
Yes.
right? Because that was something
Right.
where, like, when I go and tell people that, hey, we're interviewing somebody that went 46 days on just drinking beer, and they're like, how's he feeling? I'm like, he's feeling great. Like, he's
Right.
lost weight. He's got
Yeah.
energy. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's pretty crazy. And so let me back up and I'll tell you kind of how this
Yeah.
all started.
Yeah.
Right.
Let us know.
So like I was drinking an IPA, right? So when I first got into beer, you romance as a beer salesman. I was the sales manager for a distributor. You tell stories about beer. So you talk about, everyone kind of knows the story of IPA. If you don't, it's called IPA, which stands for India Pale Ale, right? So basically, India was a colony of Great Britain, right? So they would take beer and ship it from Great Britain to India. That journey was so long that it would spoil. The beer would spoil.
Oh, wow.
In big wooden casks
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. So what they would do, hops is a preservative. So they would take hops and put a ton of hops in these beers to preserve them
once it got to before
for that whole
Okay,
journey,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it wouldn't spoil on the way. People like soldiers and stuff on the journey would start drinking this right away. They just start drinking it. And they got a taste for that hoppy beer.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, oh my God, this is so good. This is so different. This is delicious. So the name India Pale Ale came about.
Holy
And that's
cow.
why. So almost every beer has a story like that.
Dropping some knowledge today.
Yeah.
Right?
he
So
is.
you've heard of a porter.
Yeah.
Porter is called porter because that was the beer of choice of the guys that used to carry the steamer trunks and put them on like the ships, like the Titanic
Oh,
and
yeah.
the Queen Mary.
Okay, yeah.
Those guys are called porters.
Yeah.
That beer is called porter because that was their favorite beer. It was like a little bit of a darker, strong brown ale, right?
Yeah.
And then if you got a really strong porter, it was called a stout porter. It was a very strong beer. So people just dropped the porter and started calling it stout.
All right.
So there's all these, like, every beer's got like a story behind it. So the story behind a beer called Doppelbock is it's a double Bock beer. Bock means goat in German. And so these monks, and you've heard of the brewery called Paul Lanner.
No.
So Paul Lanner is a German beer. In the 1600s, they moved a whole monastery of monks from Italy to Germany.
Oh, wow.
They moved them to Munich. And they said, basically, when they got there, hey, we want to show the new parishioners that we're hardcore. And then during Lent, like when everyone else is, now this is 1600s, so there weren't a whole lot of things to give up.
Right.
So when Catholics back then would give up something, they'd give up sweets or bread or something like that.
Right.
The monks said, we're going to give up everything. And we're going to sustain ourselves on beer that we brew. Because back then, all the monasteries are the ones that brew the beers.
Right.
They're like, we're going to brew this beer. And it's basically going to be the recipe of a Bock, but we're going to bump it up because we really need some extra protein. We need a little extra carb. We need some calories, right? We need that sustenance. So they brewed Doppelbock. That was the beer. And they called it liquid bread. That sustained them for Lent. Lent's 46 days.
Oh, okay.
So the monks would brew this beer
Okay.
called Doppelbock. And so I'm selling beer, right?
Yeah.
And I'm walking in Kruger's. And I'm walking in, every other, Jungle Gyms and the Cappies of the world and all these, these beer stores. And I'm selling a beer called Doppelbock.
Right.
And they're like, hey, the story behind Doppelbock is, and I would tell them that about the monks. And then I got to thinking, like, I started, like learning about intermittent fasting and like the keto diet and paleo diet and things like that. And I learned, like, you can, fasting's really good for you. And I thought, like, man, did the monks really do that? Did the monks really go 46 days and only drink this beer?
Right.
Like, that seems crazy to me. And I learned so much about fasting that I felt like I could probably do that and be okay. Like, I think I could do this. So in 2019, for Lent, I decided, like, all right, I'm gonna prove it. I'm gonna myth bust this, right? Remember the show
Yeah.
Mythbusters?
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna myth bust it. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do it. I'm just gonna drink beer. I'm not gonna drink Doppelbock like because it's really sweet. It's a crazy beer. It's high alcohol, a lot of sugar. But I'm like, I'll drink all the other beers too. But back then, that's all they had, and it worked like a charm. Like I started doing this, like so I have this like big jacked up Jeep. It's like a 1990 YJ.
Oh yeah,
like,
nice,
It's
dude.
got like jacked up 6 inches. It's got like a 350 in it. It's like
Holy shit.
It's bored over. It's got a 650 carb. It's crazy, and it got stolen. I was at my brewery at the time, 50 West. It gets stolen, and the news is there, and the news is doing this thing because I got my Jeep back in 12 hours through the power of social media.
Okay.
I put it out and I say like, hey, my Jeep got stolen. I'm an Army vet. It says Sergeant Dell Army plates on the license plate. It got stolen. 12 hours later, I get a call from Williamsburg, Ohio, way out east, and they're like, I see that Jeep in the parking lot. Called the sheriff. The sheriff went and got it, right?
Holy cow.
So the news was like, hey, we want to come do a story about the power of social media.
Yeah.
That was
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
You got your Jeep back in 12 hours just from networking.
Seriously,
People
yeah.
people that know you. While I'm there getting interviewed, I said something offhandedly about like, yeah, like, next week is Lent. And like I'm gonna do this thing that I only drink beer, and the cameraman was like, "What'd you say?" And I said like I'm only gonna drink beer for like 46 days, and he was like, "Get out of here!" So he talks to the reporter. He's like, "This dude, he said he's gonna drink beer only," and he's like, "You want to film some of that?" And they're like, "All right, let's film some of it." So then we switched from my Jeep getting stolen to, "Hey, this is Del Hall. He's gonna drink beer only for 46 days." That was it, like legit. That was it. They played that like the next morning at like 8 a.m.
You're
right?
stuck. You got to now.
8 a.m. they play it.
Yeah.
It got so much traction that the next day it was like 8 a.m., 9 a.m. It's 6 o'clock news, 11 o'clock news, all local. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm all over the news. This is nuts.
Yeah.
Wake up in the morning to my phone ringing Boston, Massachusetts.
Holy shit.
And I'm like, hello? Like this is like 6 in the morning, right? And they're
Yeah.
like, "Hey, Dell, this is a Hillman, like blah blah blah, Boston,
You're
Boston
live
rock
on
radio." Right,
94.5.
right now.
Exactly. It's just like that.
Hope you're
He's like-
ready.
he's
Let's
like,
go.
Hey, we hear you're doing this beer diet, and I'm like, yeah. And I tell them all about it. Like, oh, blah blah blah. Care if we follow you? And I was like, yeah, go for it. And I was like, I hung up. I'm like, that's nuts. And my phone goes, Miami, Florida. I'm like, what? I'm like, hello. And I'm like, hey, are you the beer guy? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And it was like that. So it's like Dallas. So it was like as the day went on, it was East Coast, like New York City, Toronto. It was like Detroit, and then it was like Dallas, and then it was like it just kept going across until like I'm finishing up in like L.A.
That's
like,
dope, dude.
Right? It's like the first day I get like 15 interviews across the country. And I'm like, this is nuts. Like this
Yeah,
is blowing up. Like,
it is.
and then like I'm pulling up my Instagram and like you could literally see like ding 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 ding. People are following me on Instagram. And
Yeah.
stuff. I'm like, wow. Like this is nuts. So it goes from radio to TV. So then I start getting calls from like all these TV stations. It's like, hey, can you Skype into our TV station? Can you do this? Can you do that? Like, absolutely, right? Like I'm telling everyone yes.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like,
Of
this
course.
is nuts. I'm like, let's go. Like I'm just gonna keep telling you yes and roll with it.
Yeah.
So I start doing TV. And then I start getting after TV, I start doing these TV interviews. Then I start getting like international radio stations. So like I get a
Wow.
call from like so in the middle of Lent is like St. Patrick's Day, right?
Mhm.
Dublin, Ireland calls me.
Oh shit.
Oh,
says-
what?
I'm half Irish, half Scottish, right?
Hey mate.
Yeah, Dublin, Ireland calls and was like, "Hey, like we want to interview on St. Patrick's Day live, on Dublin radio. Like we only have like one station. Like and I was like, all right, let's go.
Wow.
Right. So it's like then I start going to international,
Yeah.
and then people keep tagging me in like stories from Russia and Thailand and Brazil.
That's
and it was like it's
insane.
crazy, right? I mean, it's just like the whole like thing of like going viral is legit. It's crazy. Like
Yeah.
when you're actually going viral in the middle of it
Yeah.
to the point to where my phone rang Vatican City,
Oh
What?
shit.
right? So the Vatican is calling me. I'm like, no way.
What?
So I'm like, hello, and they're like, it's a press secretary for the Vatican.
Holy
And they're
cow,
like,
dude.
Cardinal so and so. Now I'm not Catholic.
Yeah.
Right. So that's another thing. Like I'm not Catholic. I'm not. I just started doing Lent years ago, and it's kind of fun to give up something. And
Yeah.
I started doing this. So they're like, Cardinal so and so wants to speak with you. So I'm like, okay. So this cardinal gets on the phone. I look him up after the call. He's like the cardinal in charge of all of Europe. Like, right?
That's crazy.
And the first thing he says is, are you doing this to mock our religion? And I'm like, no, like I'm not, like not at all. I'm not a religious person. I'm very spiritual, but I'm a beer guy.
Yeah.
And you know, and I start telling the story. I end up on the phone with the Vatican for like 30 minutes. This cardinal is from like Germany, so he loves beer.
Yeah.
I was in the army, right? And like I spent time in Germany and stuff, and we're talking about different German styles of beer. And like we're just talking about beer for like 30 minutes. So I got really comfortable with this dude. At one point, I told him, I was like, yeah, like beer is my religion. Like, I'm not even.
Just
I'm telling
saying
the
that to
Vatican.
the
I'm like,
cardinal of
I'm
the
like,
Vatican.
right? I'm
Bro.
like, beer is my religion. I'm not even like, you know. And then so I'm like, so.
He's laughing. He's like, me too.
Right. I'm like, hey, does the Pope know who I am? And he goes, why do you think I'm on the phone with you?
Holy shit, man.
He was like, of course, the Pope knows. I'm like, oh, I was like, can he do one of those? Like, cause now I'm like, I mean, I've been in like,
You're on a high
I've been
right
like
now.
50 countries now.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, like, will he do one of those like proclamations? He'd be like, hey, like, you know, like as like some honorary thing with like
Yeah.
a beer drink. Like, he was like, no, that's reserved for Catholics. You already told me you're not Catholic. So
Like, I can
can't
convert,
do
man. I
that.
can
I'm
take
like,
CCD.
I'm like, oh my god.
Right.
So it was like that was like that first year, man. It was just like going viral and like going from that story of can I do this or not. I also didn't attach my name to any kind of a charity.
Right.
That first year.
Yeah.
Because legit, I did not know if I would die.
Right.
Like I'm gonna try this out, and I might have to stop. I might feel sick. I might do something. I might die.
Right.
I'm not gonna attach my name to a charity.
and then
And
you
be
end
like,
up
right? And
dying
the
on
guy
this.
that's trying to raise money for juvenile diabetes died.
Right.
I'm like, that's not gonna be a thing, right? So that first year, it was crazy. I was on like hundreds of TV shows. I ended up on like, that first year, it was like Good Morning America, Inside Edition, the Late Show with James Corden, like talked about me on his monologue.
That's crazy, dude.
Adam Carolla, like all these like podcasts, like, you know, like all these things. And I was like it ended up like being international. And like I'm in Denver, Colorado, and like these people are looking at me. And I'm like, hey, you know, and I started like getting all this notoriety. Like I'd go somewhere and people are like, hey, you're the beer guy. I'm like, yeah, I'm the beer guy.
That's crazy.
You know, and like so like these people are like looking at me, and like I'm like I wave to them, and this lady comes over and like in real broken English, like she's Russian. She was like, are you the beer guy? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, my husband's a big fan. Can he have a picture? And I'm like, yeah. Like these people are from Russia.
Yeah.
Then like a guy from Taiwan stopped me on the street, and he's like, he showed me the article, and it's all in Taiwanese. I'm like, get out of here.
Wow.
This is nuts. So that was the first year,
That's
right?
a movie.
So the second I filmed this whole thing, so I have all this raw
awesome.
footage.
That's great.
awesome.
So
That's great.
I did like a POV, I did like a GoPro with like a Rode mic, and like I have
Good for
just
you.
hours and hours and hours of footage that I filmed like every day of my life. I have a YouTube channel, and like it's got like hundreds of thousands of views on different videos. It's just a crazy experience. So the second year, I was like, you know, everyone's like, are you going to do this again?
Yeah.
I'm like, absolutely. Like, no one has like talked about me in like a year. Like, I'm totally going to do this. It was so fun. You get caught up in it.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, this is so much fun. Like, you know, your phone's ringing off the hook. You're on all these things. So the second year, I was like, not only did the first year, by the way, not only did I survive, I thrived.
Yeah.
Right? So that first year in 46 days. Oh, let me back up real quick. The Vatican told me that just so, like, because I was worried about, like, how many days, like, I was doing this.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, like, it's a world record. They were like, just so you know, the monks back in the 1600s, they ate every Sunday.
Oh, shit.
Because all they cared about was mimicking Christ's fast of 40 days and 40 nights.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take out the Sundays, it's 40 days. So he's like, you've done it longer than all the monks did back then anyway.
That's
and I was
crazy.
like, oh, my God, that's crazy. Yeah. So the second year, I'm like, you know, I have all this notoriety now. Everyone knows me as the beer guy. I need to use it for good. I need to raise some money. So the second year, I raised money for juvenile diabetes.
Oh, very cool.
Because there's a thing with beer. If you get a really sweet beer, people will call it like diabetes. Remember like Wilford Brimley, like, she asked me for the D, so I gave her diabetes.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that kind of thing, you know? So like I literally raised money for juvenile diabetes. I did a whole thing, and I used all my interviews and everything to say, hey, donate money to the juvenile diabetes, blah, blah, blah. We ended up raising like, you know, like $12,000, $13,000. And I was like, this is so cool. Now I'm like doing good with my notoriety. I'm doing something, you know, productive. The third year, I got involved with, you know, Ken Anderson. Well, actually, the third year was COVID. So I raised money for bars and restaurants locally
Oh, very
that were
cool.
affected by COVID. And literally, I just went around and put a poster up in all the bars and restaurants. I walked into a bar, and I know most of the bar and restaurant owners and general managers and stuff like that. And I said, hey, I'm going to use like all my interviews this year, and it's during COVID. I was like, I'm going to like just raise money for like workers. So like whatever I raise, if you're one of the restaurants, let's say I get, end up getting 50 restaurants. I literally just took all the money I raised. I did a GoFundMe, divided it by 50, and walked in and put $250 in 50 different restaurants'
Wow.
tip jar.
That's
It's like
crazy.
boom, 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 boom,
That's
boom.
awesome.
And then I got involved with the Ken Anderson Alliance, and then I started raising money for Ken Anderson and adults with disabilities.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done to this day.
Ken
That's
Anderson's
awesome.
incredible,
Yeah.
man. He's definitely a catalyst for the city here. He gets involved with it, as many opportunities as he can, man. And he's one guy that's just keeps on pushing the ball and keeps on pushing the boundary of, I mean, he should be retired, man. He should be at home just
Yeah.
enjoying his retirement, man. But he's still out here plugging away and making sure that the city gets
Yeah.
its
Yeah,
recognition.
he did a event every year down at the Boyne Alley.
Yeah.
Yep.
He
So-
does a lot of stuff,
Yep.
man. We've worked with him before. We were able to raise some money through Q102 with him. When
Yep.
we were
Yeah.
doing those 513 days.
The first playoff win from the Bengals, like my phone buzzes and I look and it's Ken Anderson telling me who day. I'm like, this is
Hey.
crazy. Like,
Right.
That is
like
so
I
cool.
told you, right? I'm almost 50.
Yeah.
So when Ken Anderson won the MVP in 1982, I was 7 years old.
Oh,
like
wow.
that was my idol when I'm 7 years old.
Yeah.
And now
He's-
we're
he's
buds. We
calling-
drink
he's-
beers together. He calls and texts me. Like it's so much fun.
Calling you right after the Bengals game is huge, man, because
Yeah.
he's got so many people he can call,
yeah.
so many things that's going through his mind. But he's like,
Yeah.
let me call my guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's really funny? It's like so when they won that playoff game, that was the start of Zach Taylor's giving away the game balls,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that was a thing.
Right.
So that first wave of game balls was like, this is so cool. Like, what a great thing for our city. They won that second game at Tennessee.
Yeah.
I got a game ball.
Hell yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's
That's
awesome.
So
That
the
is
assistant
super
head
cool.
coach, special teams coordinator, Darren Simmons, brought us a game ball.
That's incredible, dude.
So legit, like, so the second wave of game balls, I got one. 16 Lots got one. Jeff Ruby got one. Holy Grail got one. And Delwood in Mount Lookout.
Oh,
Those
cool.
were the four that got those that right.
Yeah.
My business partner looks at the ball and goes, this date's wrong, Del. Someone dated the date of the game 2015.
Oh wow.
I don't know who dated the balls, but they were like, this must be like someone's birthday or something. But it was like, it's 2015. Like we legit, like it's a game ball. It says like Bengals over Titans, and the
Yeah.
date was right, except the year was 2015.
Yeah.
That's probably exactly what whoever was filling that out right there probably has like that.
In their head.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's her kid's birthday.
I looked at him
Yep.
and I'm like, should we say something or? And he was like, no, it'll work organically. Like social media, once we post this, they'll say,
Oh yeah.
that date's wrong. Sure enough, everyone's the first thing that people started saying was, that's not legit. That is not a real game ball. Dell is doing this for publicity. Like they thought it was like a
Of course.
publicity stunt.
yeah.
Of course it is.
And I'm like, no, it is not. Sure enough, the Bengals reach out to me and say, hey, we saw that we made a mistake. Come down to the front office and get a new game ball. Right?
Okay.
We got one with your name on it. Come get it. So I go, do I have to give back the old one? And they're like, no, you can keep that. And
Hell
I'm like,
yeah.
whoa, I got two game balls.
Yeah.
Right,
I got
right.
the error ball.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So,
misprint.
like, I'm a kid of the
Yeah.
80s. Like, I was raised,
cool.
like, baseball
Error
cards
cards.
and stuff, right?
We talk
so
about
I'm like,
that
yeah,
all
so
the
like,
time,
error
yeah.
card. So
Yeah.
I'm like, reach back out to the Bengals and say, hey, can I donate this to a charity? And we raffle this ball off and win and raise some money. And they were like, that's coach's call because he's the one that it's his program.
Yeah.
So Zach Taylor has to make that call whether or not you can do that or not. Who would you want to donate it to? And I said, Ken Anderson, the Ken Anderson Alliance for Adults with Disability. I get a call back it's 10 or 15 minutes later.
Yep.
They're like, Coach loves it. Said, go for it. He has a sister with a disability.
Oh shit! I thought he was gonna say there's another ball down here for you.
No, he's like he's got a sister with a
Right.
disability.
Yeah.
Loves that idea. Auction it off. I get a hold of Ken Anderson Alliance. I say, I got this error ball. We're going to auction this thing off, raise some money. Let's go.
Yeah.
Right? So we did, we were trying to raise $14K in 14 days because that's Ken Anderson's number.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up, at the end of 14 days, we raised $21,000
Oh, wow.
for that game ball.
Holy cow.
The day we gave it to the guy, Ken Anderson Alliance, we all met there and we gave him the game ball. That day, he got an offer for like $28,000 for that ball.
Holy cow,
He
dude.
said no. But so, in the grand scheme, like in this whole game ball,
Fiasco.
right? And trivia wise, the only person and the only company to ever get 2 game balls from the Bengals is 16 Lots Brewing Company.
Hey.
That is sick. That
Super
So-
dope. You know what I love about that too,
mic
man?
drop.
Right?
Right. Was seeing Zach Taylor go to the bars like right after the games, man. Like the bars are still packed, the people are still there, they're still celebrating, and all of a sudden the coach of your own team comes in, dude, and he's treated like a king, bro. Goes right up behind the DJ booth, and then he thanks everybody. It's like that's what the city needs, man. Because like I had a cousin of mine from Chicago. He played baseball, and he was 19. He got a chance to come out here, and I took him out downtown, and I took him to a couple bars, and he got to meet Dusty Baker, Johnny Cueto, and a couple of other pitchers all in one night in like 2 or 3 different bars, and he was just mind blown. He was like, dude, like growing up in Chicago, we don't see any of this.
Right.
Like they never come out of the house, and if they are, they're behind a red rope, and you can never
Right.
even touch them.
Like Ryan Sandberg and Mark Grace are like hanging out over there. Like
Yeah,
Andre
bro.
Dawson, the Hawk.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there you like.
Yeah, from a distance. You
Right.
can't get close to him. But
Yeah.
here, like, Dusty Baker, he was a pitcher too, so he was talking with Dusty and talking with Johnny Cueto.
It's
and
crazy.
And Dusty's like, hey, you guys are in town tomorrow. I'll give you tickets. And so we exchanged numbers, and lo and behold, he gave us tickets right behind the home
See?
plate.
It's our
But
city, man.
It's our city, dude. And it's so it's weird because you don't realize how special we have it until you go to another major city and then realize that like they're kept behind velvet ropes all the time, man.
Yep.
You don't get to talk to people like Ken
Yep.
Anderson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, this like market, it's a smaller market, but we're growing, but like that small market feel is why that is, because like
Yep.
Chicago, much different market,
Right.
Yeah.
totally different world, Chicago, New York, LA, whatever. But Cincinnati's a small market, and we're close to the players. I mean, we have players starting, clubs and restaurants.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So like
Right here in the
these
city.
guys are right. They're putting their money right back into the city because of how the city treats them, because of that small market fandom.
Yep.
And it's a different kind of fandom than
Yeah.
your national.
On our
national team, yeah.
game ball, day, that was an away game. That was at Tennessee.
Yeah.
And so by the time they got back to the city, then they went all the way to Mason because that's where Darren Simmons lives. He lives in Mason. So he was like, I tried to stop by, but you guys had chairs up, like you were closed. Like I couldn't drop off the game ball live because
Right,
you guys
right.
were closed. We're a brewery. We close earlier than like the bars, right?
Right.
So he came by the next day and gave it to us.
Yeah, that's cool shit, man. What was I gonna say? I was gonna.
That was the coolest story, though.
That
Just
was-
so
that was right.
That's a crazy situation. Yeah. You had a couple of crazy situations, man.
I got a lot of them.
They do. It's
I don't.
like-
I mean, they don't all surround beer, but
Sure,
Yes,
but
yeah.
like, I mean, more you put yourself out in the world, the more
Yeah.
opportunities you're taking, the more
Absolutely.
doors you're going through, the more times things will happen. That's how I feel. I've had a lot of unique situations, and I feel the same.
Yep.
They just happen, and you're just like, I guess me being active, me putting this energy out there is giving me something
it's
back.
all about
yeah.
energy.
Yeah,
it's all about
absolutely.
energy.
So were you 100% committed when that interview happened about your car getting stolen? Did you already have it set in your mind like I'm gonna do this 46-day thing, or were you on the fence and then when the video came out you were like pressed against the wall like I got to do it now? Like
Jay Banks, I'm telling you right now, coming hard, hitting hard. Those hard hitting questions.
Yeah.
No one has ever asked me that. I've done 500 interviews, 50 different countries.
Let's go.
No
I'm-
one's ever asked that.
I'm the Sean
and I'm
Evans
telling you
of
right
the
now.
group.
Let's go.
Hey, you know what? That is a great question because I kind of was on the fence.
Yeah.
Because that's the first time I ever done it. No one knew I was doing it. I was just in my head. I'm like, I'm gonna do this. But then once you hit your feet to the fire, then you're gonna do it.
For sure.
Right. Also, boy, I tell you what, it is really hard to not eat. Right. The
Oh,
whole
I-
thing
I-
with the whole thing with this beer fast is like I don't eat, not a bite of food.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like I get to the point where I just need to chew, and like I freeze beer cubes and chew beer.
Oh,
Or
wow.
make a beer popsicle because it's so hard.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's crazy.
that is next level.
But because I got so much attention, I'm not going to be that person that fails.
Yep.
I'm not going to be that dude on the news that's like, I'm going to do this, and they're like, then you're going to see me like eating a coney,
Right.
right? It's not going to be me. So I was kind of on the fence. And then I did that interview, and I'm like, well, I got to do it now.
Yeah.
And I just jumped in, like, let's go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So do you think without all those press interviews and everyone calling your phone, do you think you still would have made it the 46 days, or you think you kind of would have bailed out if you weren't been in the spotlight?
Yeah, so again, that's a really good question. It actually is really boring to not eat.
I bet.
So if you think about your day and think about when you wake up, you might start thinking about, like, am I going to eat something for breakfast? Am I not? Am I going to, like, cook something for lunch? Am I not? Am I going to pack my lunch? Am I going to meal prep for the week? Am I going to have for dinner? Like, I want to try that new spot. I heard they have good food there. Like, dude, it's always around us. So much so, like, when I film, like, I hope to take all this information and, like, I have that, you know, like, I wanted to do a documentary. It's just, the editing is just a lot.
For
right?
sure.
It's the editing of all that raw footage is a lot. So I got a ton of that.
Days
but
and
also,
days of
I want to write a
SD
book.
cards. Oh yeah.
So I'm going to write a book called The Beer Diet. And you mentioned it earlier about how, like, you know, beer is always this evil thing, right? But I want to tell and show people, like, I've now, not just during these 46 days every year, but during the rest of the year too, I experiment with beer, and I learned how to incorporate beer into a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
So you can tell me whatever you're doing, whether it's keto, you're doing Whole30, or you're doing paleo, or, you know, any of these diets out there, I can tell you how to incorporate beer into a healthy way. Because the last thing I want to do is vilify beer. I don't want you to think that beer is bad for you.
Right.
And I can incorporate that into a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you talk about, like, the attention that you get from that, and, like, how, like, that holds you accountable.
Oh yeah.
So you're bored out of your mind without eating because you don't have the time to you have all the time in the world.
Right.
Because you don't
Right.
have all these.
I mean,
like,
when you're
look,
sitting
take
on
them
the
out, like,
couch-
take away. Yeah, you don't you're snacking. You're like, all that's gone. You have so much time.
Right.
So it's really, really boring.
Yeah.
And that's, like, one of the hardest parts is, like, overcoming the boredom. So
Stay busy.
and that's right.
Yeah.
So, like, the interviews and traveling and being, like, taken via limo to studios,
That is
getting
so-
flown. Like, I've been to LA and done, like, Jay Leno, and like that takes up a lot of time.
Yeah.
Makes time go by faster, and it makes it easier.
Of course, when you're sitting in that limo, you're like, "Fuck yeah, I'm not hungry."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
So-
Well, like, I mean, I was on, like, it's really weird because I'm an Army veteran. I did 9 years in the Army.
Appreciate your service.
Yeah, appreciate
And
you.
I think that's the reason why, like, Fox and Friends reached out to me. That's one of the shows I was on.
Oh, dope.
So, like, right? And I'm like, I'm not, like, this big conservative or anything. I'm really, actually, really, really liberal. And, like, Fox and Friends was like, hey, can you come up to, I had to go to, like, to Columbus, Ohio. And they, like, wanted to be in some studio in Columbus to film this Fox and Friends segment. And they were like, we'll send a limo for you, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, all right, dope. They're like, be ready at, like, you know, 3:45 a.m.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. So sure enough, limo shows up at the house. Like, I jump in this limo. I go to Columbus. I film this thing with Fox and Friends. And that was, like, the whole reason I was on Fox and Friends, because it was like, Army veteran loses 44 pounds while only drinking beer.
Right.
Like, that kind of thing.
I mean, that's clickbait for sure.
Exactly,
But
right?
and it's interesting. Like, who's not going to watch that? Like, wait a minute, this dude, for one, this guy only drank beer, no food for 46 days, but he lost weight. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, how's that?
Yeah.
You
So,
know.
like, literally all markers of health improve. Like, not only do I lose weight, so, like, over the years, like, I've lost, like, this year I lost 38 pounds just drinking beer. And the first year I did it, I lost 44 pounds. The second year I did it, I wanted to, like, set a world record. So I thought Guinness would, like, certify it.
Right.
So I went 50 days because I was like, okay, so if someone did do 46 days, why would they go past Easter?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. I'm going to go ahead and do 50 days
Yeah.
and be the longest on record. And then Guinness was like, no, we don't make those records anymore that could harm your health. So because it's beer and you're fasting, we're not going to certify it.
Oh wow.
And I even like had to, like, appeal them.
Oh, wow.
And I appealed them. I was like, no, look, like, here's all from my doctor.
Yeah.
Like, my blood pressure improved, my fasting blood sugar improved, I lost weight, my, like, cholesterol went down, like, everything
Oh.
improved. Like my eyesight gets better, my sense of smell gets better, my sense of taste is crazy. My joints don't hurt. Like I need 5 hours of sleep and I pop out of bed let's go.
Yeah, wow.
It's pretty crazy.
I mean, that just
That
shows
is-
you what's in our food that's making you feel so
Yep.
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah. Well,
More questions come from that than the beer. Like,
Yeah.
what's the actual problem?
right, because if I
Yeah.
told, so I did an
interesting.
interview once with a dietitian, and they're trying to just shoot holes in everything, and I said, look, if I told you I had the standard American diet for 46 days that consists of processed foods, fast food, protein, sugar, carbs, everything that's in the standard American diet, or I had a all natural, mainly organic, no sugar, no fat, no artificial flavorings, no artificial sugars, no artificial sweetener, diet. Which one would you think is more healthy?
Right.
That's the beer diet I just described. That's
Yeah.
what's in beer. Beer's there's nothing in beer. It's 4 ingredients.
Yeah.
So which
yeah.
one's more healthy?
Right. So how do you get the protein and stuff to keep? You just don't.
You don't.
No
so,
shit.
So there's a lot of people think about when you're starving, right? So from an evolutionary standpoint, you're starving. That's called malnourished.
Mm-hmm.
If you're fat, you got some meat on your bones.
Yeah.
That's overnourished,
Right.
right? So if you're overnourished, we didn't survive this long in nature. We're animals.
Right.
We did not survive this long in nature by not being able to eat for a little bit and wasting away and not having the energy to go find that food. When we don't have food in our system, everything, your drive is now I'm going to make your eyesight better so you can see food. I'm going to make your sense of smell better so you can smell food. I'm going to make your joints and everything, all that inflammation go away
So you can chase the food.
chase that
Yeah,
food.
Yeah.
All that improves. So much so, at the time, I live in Hyde Park now, but I lived in Pleasant Ridge for years, and I live right behind PRC, Pleasant Ridge Chili,
Oh yeah.
right? So I would be laying in bed and
Yeah.
just smelling Cincinnati chili in the air,
Right.
and also my sense of smell was so crazy. Anywhere you go in the city, you can smell chili.
Oh shit.
You really can. There's a chili parlor so close, you can always smell it.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So you're so hyper focused on food, so you end up thinking about food. You end up dreaming about food. You
I bet.
until you get past that primal drive.
Right.
And then it's your hunger leaves. You're not hungry anymore. It's crazy. But if you think about when you wake up until you go to bed, all the food references you have, right?
Oh,
I'm sitting right
it's
now.
everywhere.
I'm looking at Campbell's. I'm looking at this beer right here. It's got raspberries in it. There's liquid death. There's Little Sweeter over there. I'm looking at things over, right. It's you're bombarded with
It's
it.
everywhere.
You're listening to the radio. You hear an ad for Wendy's. You're driving down the street. You pass Popeyes, Wendy's, McDonald's, right?
They make it obvious. yeah.
Constantly, right? So I kept like a counter when you walk in a door and you click it.
How many
Yeah.
times?
Like a head counter.
Yeah.
So I did that for a whole day once. I was I'm just gonna during my fast. I'm just gonna click this every time that I hear a reference about food. And it was 1,750 references from the time I woke up till I went to bed about food.
That's crazy. I
We're
mean,
bombarded with it.
I mean, it's everywhere, bro. You're on the highway. The billboards, they literally will say "you're hungry" and then have some McDonald's fries on there, right?
And just
Yep.
bright yellow all day long with red. They got the colors down to get you in the mood.
Yep.
It's all these sensories. They're putting so much
Yeah.
into the marketing, and it eats us up.
Yeah.
We get into it right away.
Yeah.
People will stop right off the exit because they saw that. And I mean, I've experienced it many times, being on road trips or on tour or vacation, traveling across land. All these billboards placed perfectly with the right color scheme, right information, and the arrow's it's right here. You satisfy your craving.
Next
Boom,
exit.
right here.
You
Yeah.
mentioned this just now. You mentioned the word sensory, and that really is your senses are bombarded. So it's very hard. We're fighting. It's almost it's like Star Wars. It's like the evil empire, right?
Mm-hmm.
So big food is making hyper palatable food, and it's very hard for us to It's look, I grew up inner city, in the hood, right? Crackheads and stuff. If you're gonna stop doing drugs, you can't be all right, I know you're a crackhead, but I need you to do a little bit of crack every day,
right,
right? But you need to eat a little bit every day,
right.
right? This food that they're giving us is like a drug.
Mm-hmm.
So Y'all just had McDonald's just now, right? Perfect
Don't tell
example.
anybody.
Perfect example. So if you look at a fast food meal, if you were to eat the same thing, and that's why like keto is popular, and like a lot of other diets that are very driven by one thing.
Right.
So like keto is a lot of fat and protein, but no carbs.
Yeah.
So like you just get tired of it. So your palate gets saturated with fat, and you don't want to eat anything else. You're like, I'm done. Like I've had this like 32-ounce ribeye. Like I'm done. Like I can't eat anymore.
Right.
Because you're over it. But with like McDonald's or fast food, you take a bite of that burger, and you get the burger fat, right? But it's surrounded by bread,
Oh yeah.
right? Then you're like, so you got the fat. Then you take a fry, and that's a salty fry, right? And that salt, like, then washes the fat off your palate, and you're like, oh, that fry was delicious because that fat, right?
Another bite of
and
burger.
then it's like, well, now it's salty. Now I need something to drink.
Yep.
So you got a soda. So you take your soda and you drink it, and it washes everything down with sweet. Then you're ready for more fat, more salt, more sweet, and you can actually ingest 2 to 3 times as much as you would if you just had something on its own.
Right.
And that's the whole game. So it's hyper palatable food.
I can't wait for this book, bro.
Man, same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You filled with knowledge and filled with information and fascinating stories and stuff that, I mean, who would have thought the beer fasting would improve your health, improve your your situation. You said your joints and your taste and your smelling and the eyesight, if you will. So like everything is just it's amazing that is even on the table.
I went.
Right.
You know what
So
I
I
mean?
went
Like that
this year. So like
the
I
idea
try
of
different
that's-
things every year.
Sure.
I try all these different things to like. If it's like a fitness influencer or something, you see them do all these things on YouTube and on TikTok and things like that. So like on like they say like to break a habit like on day 21, you have to do 21 days of something to create a habit. You need to withdraw from that for 21 days to break the habit. So I remember one year on day 21, I went and did a sensory deprivation tank. I filmed it all, right? So like it's a pod with salt water in it.
Yep.
So you're buoyant, so you feel weightless.
Right.
There's no lights in there, so you have no sight. There's no scent, there's no smell, right? So you go into this, and then you put like earplugs in, so there's no sound. It's completely dark. It's like you're floating in space. And I did that because I wanted to just confront. The only thing that I knew, if I took away all my senses, what would be left, if I haven't eaten in 21 days, would be hunger. I wanted to confront my hunger.
Okay.
Right? I'm like, I'm going to confront my hunger, and they tell it, like, it doesn't control me anymore. You're done. You're done, hunger, right? So I've done all these things, like, and I saw that through, like, TikTok, or not TikTok, but that back was, like, Instagram.
Yeah.
Now you see, like fitness influencers and stuff do, like, DEXA body scans.
Yeah.
So, like, oh, I want to know, like, my bone density, how much fat and how much muscle is on my body. So this year I went and did that. So I went and did my DEXA body scan. So I started at the beginning, and then I went at the end for the 38 pounds and, like, how that all worked out. When I get there, right off the rip, right? Like I get there and I do this, and like the first thing I wanted to do was like, what's my basal metabolic rate? Like, what's my rate right now, coming off? Like this is day 1, so I've been eating, like normal. They hook me up to a pulse oximeter, right? So they're getting my pulse, and then they put this contraption around you, breathe in and out. So I get done with this and I do my body scan, and like the fitness, because this is at Fitness Insights of Louisville, is where I had to go for this.
Okay.
And the dude looks at me, right? He's like, all like ripped, and he's like, so your pulse is like, your resting rate is like 59. That's really good. Like I wouldn't, just like, no offense, but like looking at you, I wouldn't think that like your like heart rate is like only at 59. That's really good. He goes, and your metabolism is off the chart. He's like, your metabolism is like on the real high, like just resting. He was like, you're at 1,984 calories just living. Regardless of what you do for the day, you're going to burn 1984. And when I look at the difference between fats and carbohydrates, you're 50-50, which means you're metabolically flexible. If you eat carbs, you'll burn them. If you eat fat, you'll burn it. He goes, you are like people who are like 10% body fat. And I was like, well, I just done my blood work too. And my A1C, which you'll see like, like Ozempic and like all these like diabetes drugs. That's like your average of like the last 3 months of your blood sugars and things like that. Mine's like a 4.4, which is like my cholesterol is like a teenager's.
Oh wow.
Okay.
And he's like,
nice.
get out of here. You might be onto something with all this stuff. And I'm like, in the grand scheme of things, it's about like fasting and about being disciplined and right. But like I can do this for like 46 days, but I'm not like super disciplined other times.
Right.
I'm just normal. Like my pendulum does not stay in the middle. I'm like, hey, let's party, let's have a good time, let's eat and drink, or nothing at all.
Right.
Right. So I use this like those 46 days as kind of like my spring reset. It's just like, hey, like I'm gonna just knock some weight off and get ready for the summer. And I think it does a lot of good for my metabolism and a lot of good for my blood sugar and cholesterol. And that's what people used to do, because back in the day, like when you're foraging for food, you're hunter and gatherers, like you didn't have food to eat over the winter because everything was frozen.
Yep.
You couldn't really eat anything.
Yeah,
and then when spring broke and things started growing, you started eating. Towards the end of the summer, your body would naturally put on weight because it's almost like you're hibernating.
Right, for sure.
And I feel kind of like I'm kind of doing that now, that like I'm going through these times of feast and famine.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nowadays we don't ever see the famine. We only feast.
Right.
Like we feast at like fast food restaurants and things like that.
Yeah,
we don't have to go through the famine part of it.
Right.
So the when you started the fasting, man, what is it? Like when did the hunger pains subside? Was it like 10 days into it, and then the next 36 were like,
Yeah.
a breeze, or like when did your body just go, okay, Dell's doing this for a while, I'm gonna stop complaining?
I haven't
So
had
you're getting into like the science of it. And I love
yeah.
that because I'm a student of it, right? So if you just drink water, so also like going into this, like I learned about like just fasting in general and water fasting, and the longest dedicated fast ever was like back in like the 1930s. A dude from Scotland was like 480 pounds, fasted for a year on water only.
Oh,
This was
wow.
in a hospital setting though, and they did put IVs in him
Did they
for
give
like
nutrients?
electrolytes and
Yeah.
stuff. But like he fasted, he got down to 180, lost 300 pounds,
Oh wow.
and never put it back on. And then I started learning about, I've done water fast before, where I've done 5 days of just water fasts. So nothing but water. So it really cleanses your system. And on a water fast, like day 1, you have some like hunger and not hunger pangs. 2, it kind of gets kind of like crazy hunger. But day 3, you're gone. Like there's no more hunger after day 3. So if you ever decide to drink water for like 3 days, you will not be hungry. Like you'll experience no hunger.
Okay.
And then after that, you're good, right? For as long as you need to keep, your body's going to switch over. It's not going to let you like go eat your organs or eat your muscle. It's going to go after fat.
Yeah.
Because fat is kind of like in the fridge, but muscle's in the freezer.
Yeah.
So like when your body's like burning stuff, it's like, man, do I want to take this out and thaw it and go after like muscle and organ, or like there's fat right here, I might as well just use it,
For sure.
right?
Yep.
So that's the way kind of like it'll work. With beer, I found that it's not as like hardcore as water, because I'm getting flavors, I'm getting some carbohydrates, I'm getting some sugars and things like that.
Right.
So day like 3 to 5 is like hell. 3 to 5 sucks. It's like you're hungry all the time. You dream about food. Like I'll wake up sometimes going like, stuff like that, and it's crazy. Then from like day 5 to day 12, and also hunger comes in waves. It's not like you're hungry and you're always hungry.
It's just
It
when
comes in waves.
you're
It
going in
hits
to
you.
pay for the gas, bro.
It
You
hits
see
you.
all them little
Right.
fucking cookies at the counter.
Yeah, you smell the hot dog roller.
So it hits you, and then like you just like chill out, and like 20 minutes later it goes away. But like that's pretty bad from like 5 to 12.
5 to
Right?
12.
Like
Noted.
like it's pretty bad. But when you get to day 12, like now you're used to it. Like hunger knows it's no longer there. So only when you do smell something, or you like go somewhere, like because I have friends and family, and they're not always the nicest when it comes to my fast. They'll be like sending me pictures of their food.
Oh yeah.
And like like they just want to f with me. So
The
they're
real
like-
friends.
right? They're just like, hey, look, like And I've done things where I've had to go to like, and I'm a huge FOMO.
Had to go to a
especially-
wedding and only.
Like I get FOMO about food and stuff all the time, because like I want to go to the hottest restaurant. I want to do those things. And if I'm traveling, it's so hard.
Oh, I bet.
Because when you're traveling, you're like, I don't know the next time I'm going to get to Denver, or the next time I'm going to get to LA or something, like and you're there, and they're partaking and you're not. And they're just like, they're like, hey, you're doing this to yourself. I'm eating.
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing, you know.
But you also spoke to the Vatican,
Yeah.
and they didn't.
Ah, right.
Right.
You
So-
also spoke to the
Yeah.
Vatican.
So it's
and-
kind of like cruise control.
Yeah.
After like day 12, then you're good. Like you're not really hungry anymore.
Yeah.
And if you there might be bouts of hunger where you like see something or hear something or smell something, but it's really more about the boredom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
bet.
just so boring.
I bet. I mean, when you're watching TV, you know, it's like
Yeah.
it's one of those things you gotta have something in your hand to munch on, or just something to break down.
First couple days, you have habits that you may or may not realize you have.
Right.
And you're just driving, and you get that kind of like, oh, I'm kind of hungry, and like, oh, like I'm just gonna pull in Taco Bell, and like you find yourself going through that motion of like, oh, you know what, I kind of like want a steak tonight. Like, whoa, what? I'm not eating right now. Like, I can't have a steak.
Yeah.
I can't have McDonald's or like something. You can't like I can't do that.
Yeah.
Like it's it's like, oh, wings sound good. Well,
Right.
of course wings sound good.
Haven't been
Anything
eating.
sounds
Right?
great right now.
Yeah, but you find yourself going through those habits and almost going through that process of like turning,
Yeah.
right? And I've also experimented. So when you shut down your digestive system, you
I didn't even fucking think about that.
you
Shit.
shut down the whole thing, right? So you're not producing saliva. You lose there's a lining in your gut and your intestines called the mucosal lining, and you lose that. And what that is it's mucus that's covering your whole place. And when you eat food, it slows it down so that your intestines have time to absorb nutrients. All that's gone. You literally lose it in the toilet over days. You see it. You're
That's
like,
crazy,
oh my
dude.
God, that's gross. Like you see it. And then so with that gone, when you start to eat again, you have to like
Reintroduce yourself to the
reintroduce,
food.
right? Because they found out during the Holocaust and with prisoners of war that if you were to introduce foods that would stop you up without that lubricant in your guts, it can create a blockage and you can die.
Yeah, that's crazy. Actually, off subject, but kind of on the same thing. My intestines did burst.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got real sick. I thought I just had the flu. My nephew was sick, and it got to the point where it was like, I think it was like 3 or 4 days before I even went into the doctor, and I went in and they did, I think it was an ultrasound they did or something, but they were like, you got to go in for immediate surgery, and I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, we got to take you right now, like, because I had a hole the size of $50 in my intestines,
Yep.
and something in my stomach was just pressing up against that rip in my intestines, so it kept like all that stuff inside, because
Right.
I would have easily died, but so they cut out like over a foot of my intestines and then sewed it back
Sewed it back
together.
yep.
Never did the colostomy bag. I was probably about 10 years ago. So they said I was pretty young, and they were like, we figured you don't want a shit bag on your waist. So, just plugged it all in and put it back in there. They used this Da Vinci, which is like a super high-end, like, robot that was
Yeah,
basically had
endoscopy.
fingers. Yeah, like, so I've
Yeah.
got like 5 holes in my stomach
Yeah.
where it all
where
went
they come
in.
in and it's just like small, but then
Yeah, so it was wild, man. Like I going through that moment, because it was like I've never had a major surgery like that before, and I thought I was
Right.
just getting sick, but it got to the point where I couldn't straighten up. Like I had to be in this like fetal position,
Right.
or it was just killing me, man.
Yeah. So so like we
So
went down
brutal.
that road talking about the digestive system, because now over the years I experiment during my fast. Right. I don't do anything that would break my fast. I don't eat food or anything, but like I've been so hardcore that like I don't chew. Right. I eat like
I was
you
gonna
know,
ask you that.
Right. I don't even chew or anything. Right. I never have artificial sweeteners and things like that. But I've also like worn a continuous glucose monitor and like drank a Coke Zero. Because there's no calories in that. As long as I don't have calories, I make the rules for the fast.
Right,
I want
right.
to use that time to experiment and see, does my blood sugar get raised when I drink a Coke Zero?
Right.
Does it go with maybe a Diet Coke? It's different because it's different sweeteners and things like that. Like, so I have found out that with me, if I have fake sugar, like a Coke Zero or something, it spurs my hunger.
Oh wow.
It doesn't, like, my blood sugar doesn't get affected or anything. It doesn't break my fast or anything, but it actually makes me crave things and make me more hungry.
Yeah, it just.
I also experimented with, like, chewing gum. Like, in the past, I haven't chewed gum because I didn't want to, like, I want to shut down my entire digestive system. But I was like, I'm going to chew gum, see what that does.
Yep.
it just sours your stomach because you're producing all this saliva
That's not going
while
anywhere.
you're chewing,
Yeah.
and you're just like, so sugar-free gum, and like, there's no calories in it. You're chewing it, and it's like, oh, your stomach just gets so sour.
Yeah.
I wonder if you like eat celery, because like celery is a negative calorie
Right.
food. Yeah, so I mean that's what I used to eat in high school for wrestling.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
celery and
Cut
peanut
weight.
butter. Yeah,
Yeah.
cut weight level. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like those, like I wonder how that would have even affected you. Like I mean, it's still something heavy though. But like it's
Right.
heavier than liquid.
Yeah.
But like it's negative calories, so like
Yeah.
you're actually burning when you're eating it. So
Right, because it costs
Exactly.
It costs more calories to burn than it does to actually what's in that celery stick.
Yep.
Unless you cook it.
Right.
If you cook celery, then it breaks down the cellulose, which is the fiber, and then you can absorb it faster, and it will raise your blood sugar, and it will actually be calories. So raw celery is considered negative calories,
Yum.
but if you were to eat cooked celery, it wouldn't be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've got another question, man. Because so you've done a lot of these podcasts. You were on Jay Leno. You were
Yeah.
on Adam Carolla. We all know that there's riders, right? So when you get there, like, so when you got to Jay Leno, like, they know what you're there for. But did they stock the green room with snacks and candies and shit like that?
I was gonna ask
Yeah,
that. Like,
so when
what was their prep? Did they have beer for you, or was like
Yeah. So when I did Leno, I did his new show, which is called You Bet Your Life,
Yeah,
which is a game show / interview show.
you're right.
So it's both, right? So like, we actually broadcast that here out on the big screen in the Levee
Box park
right?
out there? Yeah.
So we did it there. So what I did was, like, I was on TV in LA, like KLA TV, and one of the producers of that show saw me and was like, dude, that dude he'd make a good guest. So I get this, like, via Instagram, like, slide into my DMs. It was like, hey, like, would you audition for Jay Leno to be on his new show? It's called You Bet Your Life. And I remember You Bet Your Life because it used to be like Groucho Marx way back in the day. And I'm like, of course. I'm like, I say yes to every interview. Like, yes,
Yeah.
I will do every interview. Like, I'll do it. So I ended up doing a Zoom audition for Jay Leno and his producers. So, like, there I am, like, standing there with my iPad, and, like, and he wanted to know about, like, celebrity stories and things like that. Like, if you ever had any interaction with celebrities and blah, blah, blah. And actually, like, what my story was, I've met Pam Anderson twice. The second time, she remembered me. And I met her the first time on The Tonight Show. Like, I was a VIP at the Tonight Show in Vegas, and she was the guest. So I told him that story,
nice.
told him some other stories, and then he was like, they're like, oh, we'll contact you if we want to book you. And sure enough, I got booked.
That's awesome.
So I got booked. It was a game show, though. So
Right.
it's like I won money on it. So I so it was like a thing. So, like, you can all expense paid trip out to LA, and they put you up, and they give you, like, some spending money, and then you go, and they bring all the all the contestants. We all, like, stayed in the same hotel. They shipped us all out there, and then we, like, got in. And so the green room is a little different because the show was like 2 guests at a time, and the point was, like, you didn't meet each other till you were on the set with Jay and Kevin.
Oh, gotcha.
So, like, that was the point. So it was like Group A and Group B, and, like, we were all paired up. So then I didn't meet Jay until we got on set. So I talked to the producers. We went back and forth. It was a full day. They had all the food and stuff. I wasn't on my fast at the time. This was after my fast.
Right.
So this was like, there was, like, recounting the story, and it was like everybody in those rooms were, like, social media influencers. They were people that had gone viral for something. There were all these things, but, like, craft service was legit. Like, there was a barista there. They had, like, hair and makeup. Like, it was so fun. So, like, you like, hey, you're up next, and, like, you're going to hair and makeup, right? You go by and, like, hey, can I get a caramel macchiato? And then they're like ready to roll. And then I'm like, normally when I do these things, I, like, have a few pops when I go on air with somebody. Like, even locally, like, I might have, like, a little Buffalo Trace in my coffee or something, just to kind of calm the nerves.
Yeah, for sure.
And, like, that was, like, straight up. Like, I just walk out on this huge stage in front of a live studio audience, and they're like, hey, this is Jay Leno. I'm like, hi, Jay. Like, like.
Right, your first time meeting
first
him
time,
in front
right,
of millions of
everybody.
people.
right. That's
Yeah. And then they're like, they're telling you, like, like, hey, like, do not, like, I know you're, like, if you're a small business owner, they're like, don't mention your small business. Don't mention any brands. You couldn't wear anything branded and things like that, because this was on, it's syndicated. So sometimes it was ABC, Fox, CW, Star Network, things like that. So you get on set, and then you meet Jay and Kevin, and like I had already talked to the producer, and I was like, so like, do they like beer? Are they beer guys? And like, no, neither of them drink beer.
Yep.
Like I'm like, oh man, like I had these questions like to talk, to razz them about beer and things like that, and so yeah, then you're like, all right, we're gonna go, and like then it's a game show, and they had like we couldn't even go to the bathroom without like you had to like ring one of the producers like from the like green room, and then they would escort you to the bathroom because they didn't want any cheating
For sure.
on a game show. So me and my partner won like $4,500. We got to split like
Nice.
That's dope.
it was,
dude.
it was real interesting.
You mind if
What
I
is
grab one of those IPAs, bro?
Absolutely, let me get it for you.
Yeah,
Is
I
there-
would. I'd like the other option.
And he's no novice.
Yeah.
He's got it sitting in
I know.
in watered down ice. He knows how to keep these
That's right.
things ice cold.
Yeah.
Got that
Yes.
16 lots Yeti,
Yeah.
which a Yeti in the beer world, it doesn't do us a lot of good because we go in and out of the cooler so much.
Right.
If Yeti like will legit keep that cold for like 5 days if you don't open it.
Yeah.
But if you open it over and over again like we do, it's like any other cooler.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just wasting money.
Right. You get the brand on it though.
Soak
Yeah.
City, bro. The cans that you guys are doing are incredible, man. I'm gonna have to re-up on the logo that I was working on because this is. I can
So
I can
Soak City
see-
is kind of like that was inspired by when I first came into 16 Lots. I kind of wanted to do kind of like a steampunk kind of, but it was like my vision of steampunk. It wasn't like straight up like just goggles and like lasers and things like that. Like
Right.
that was like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Oh yeah.
It was what that kind of like Jules Verne, right?
Hashtag drink lots.
Hashtag drink lots.
That's
Now it's hashtag
genius.
drink lots on the Levee.
Hey, shout out to that, man. Let's.
Yep, you're first. Wow. That was out of a
10 out of 10.
That was out of a movie.
10 out of 10. That
That's
literally
that
was.
IPA, bro.
Man,
10 out of 10.
put some
All right.
pressure
That
on
was
me.
coconut shell clip clop.
Yeah,
Like, clip clop, clip
like
clop, clip clop.
right.
Holy
bro.
grail.
Commercial right
Yeah.
there.
All
All
right,
right.
let's get a cheers in here.
Hey, let's go.
Let's do it.
My turn.
Let's do it, AI.
Hey, there it is. Appreciate you for being a part of this, and
Absolutely.
and choosing Newport on the Levee as the Southern Outpost, bro.
Yeah.
This is gonna be fun, man. So you've got a bunch of food in the works too, man. I see what Kat's been
Nice.
doing,
Yeah.
and you guys got a new chef on board.
Yep.
Are you allowed to talk about what type of food you're gonna be serving down there?
Oh, absolutely. So it's more of like a we kind of liken ourselves as foodies. This is our first restaurant, but boy, we are food fans, right? So we when we travel places, we like to go to gastropubs, right? Which is like a high-end pub experience. It's going to be like elevated cuisine. It's not going to be white tablecloth, but it's going to be like really good food, really good beer, right? So some of our menu items that we're going to have over here. So on the regular is going to be like, so you look at appetizers and things like that. It's like it's like fried pickles and banana rings.
Oh,
like
okay.
like combo. We're gonna do beer can chicken. We're gonna do lump crab cake sandwiches.
Oh, wow.
We're gonna do like some version of like OKI is. That's Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, right? So that's what we call this tri-state area. We call it OKI.
Okay.
So Ohio maybe will be like an all beef, patty burger. Indiana might be the pounded out pork tenderloin. And Kentucky might be a southern fried chicken sandwich,
Oh shit.
right? And then you can get that like Nashville style. On the appetizer side, it might be like Nashville popcorn chicken. It might be like truffle or duck confit popcorn. We're gonna do Sunday brunches.
Oh yeah.
So there's
dude.
not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of brunch around, and I'm a huge brunch fan.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of brunch around. We're gonna do like it's called bluesgrass brunches. So
Oh, okay.
some days it'll be blues playing on our stage while brunch is being served. Sometimes it'll be bluegrass while
Okay.
brunch is being served. But we're gonna have like shrimp and grits, Geta gravy and biscuits,
Oh shit.
chicken and waffles. You know,
Uh-oh.
like legit like
Ooh.
brunch food.
Man.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And then so the cigars that you're getting too, you're gonna have that whole cigar bar outside. So that's
Yeah.
are you teaming up with somebody locally to produce the cigars, or are you working with Party Source?
Yeah, so we're gonna source them from Party Source, which really fun. Like, and it's like a side note. You know, I'm a big cigar enthusiast. I've smoked cigars for about 25 years now, and when I was talking about a retail environment, I'm thinking like, all right, there's gonna be like, because on the beer side we have a lot of permits, we have a lot of licenses we have to have. On the tobacco side, I'm like, man, this is going to be like a lot of hoops jump through. Like, how am I going to sell cigars? I'm going to have to, like, you know, have smoking on site.
Yeah.
There's going to be some permits and stuff.
Sure.
Nothing.
That's crazy.
State of Kentucky doesn't have, like, a tobacco license. So, because we're a tobacco producing state.
Right.
So, when it comes to, like, a big, you know, cash crop in your state like this, they want everybody to sell them as they can. So, if you already have a retail establishment, you can sell tobacco.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we're going to source those from Party Source. We're going to do, they have a big following on Tuesday nights where they do these like cigar samplings from different vendors. We're going to have those out on the patio. So like once every couple weeks or once a month, we're going to have the patio will be just a cigar night.
That's
Sponsored
awesome.
with,
Yeah.
you know, kind of co-sponsored with Party Source. So
That's
that'll
great.
be, you know, it's a huge. It's such a fun part of that you know,
Yeah.
that's unique to us. So it's like, you know, we have the amazing craft beer. We have live music. You know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We have from scratch kitchen. A lot of local we're like our pickles and are all house made.
Oh wow.
Like, you know, like we're gonna get like, you know, like bread will come from like 16 bricks. But
Hell yeah.
But like, you know, like pretzels and stuff in house.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like a lot of stuff is going to be from scratch. You know, then we have the cigar experience, and so you combine that together, and there's really nothing like us out there.
No.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere that I mean,
You know,
you're so, it's diverse and it all sounds high quality from what you're explaining, and I can only imagine the quality when we actually see it in person.
Yeah.
You know, right now we're just getting like,
It's checking all the boxes.
it's checking
bro.
every box. I'm like,
Right.
what about this? There's no
Yeah.
holes in this boat. You know what I mean? So,
well, you had mentioned so I wanted to bring this up because we just talked about that can, right?
Okay.
So AI had just mentioned earlier when he saw that can, we were talking about like the murals, right? So we have these tentacles. So if you look on that can, there's tentacles and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
That's kind of like a punky kind of thing where you see that on breweries across the country. You'll see some tentacles and things like that. But because I want that genuine experience, I have this whole like backstory here on the Levee, right? So the story is that the sea monster was coming from the Atlantic Ocean, gets caught in New York City in the harbor. They wrap it up in this nautical rope, right? And they don't know what to do with it. But it escapes anyway. It travels from, and this is all documented, from New York City, you can actually take waterways to Buffalo, and that goes into Lake Erie. From Lake Erie, that sea monster came all the way down the old like Erie canals and the Miami Erie canals all the way through you know, from Lake Erie all the way through like Dayton, Ohio, all the way down to Cincinnati and the Ohio River. While the sea monster is here in the Ohio River, right? There's some guys on the bank just fishing, having some beers, having a good time, and this tentacle comes out of the water, grabs one of their beers, and the sea monster just chugs this beer.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay,
So
yeah.
this they were initially scared. They were thinking like the sea monster is going to kill them. But no, this sea monster was literally friendly, just looking for a little beer,
Yeah.
right?
likes beer.
Likes beer.
Traveled all the way.
So
from
these
New York
guys
for-
help him
Yeah.
out. This guy help him. They take all these ropes off the sea monster, and they affectionately call him Tentacle with a K, right?
Yeah.
So they take tentacles, and take all these ropes off of him and stuff. I actually use all those ropes that spent years and years in New York City in the harbor, and I use them throughout the brewery.
Oh, dope.
So you'll see all those ropes. So from the bar to the drink rails to around our tanks, their patio. It's always
Storytelling.
going to be these.
Yep.
Always going to be
Storytelling.
is these ropes. Now I actually got those ropes from New York City.
Oh, shit.
And so I found this rope. It was up in Toledo, Ohio, and I'm looking at rope, what I want to use for this concept of having a nautical
Yeah.
restaurant and brewery. And this guy, the owner of the place, goes, "Man, I got something you might want to be interested in, because you keep talking about patina and all these things that are, happening with your brewery. Look at this rope." So he shows me 1,200 foot of rope coiled up, and he goes, "That sat in the New York City harbor in the subway system for 25 years.
Oh, shit.
And it's got this crazy patina on it because it's 25 years old. They don't even make rope like that anymore.
Right.
They wanted to do a new project. They got a hold of them and said, "Hey, we want to order some rope, but we found this one old, can you get it out of here? Can we send it back to you?" And they said, "Yeah, you absolutely can." I ended up buying that exact rope.
That's dope.
So I tied in the New York City side of it with Tentacle, right? Then during the night when we close down, everything kind of gets, you'll see in our space, all the steel is got kind of rusty and got patina on it.
Oh, yeah.
The copper's got patina on it.
So does the graffiti.
Yeah, there's graffiti. Everything has this patina on it, and that's because Tentacle is always looking for beer. So after we close down for the night, his tentacles slide in, and he's looking for that beer.
That's
so he
tight.
kind of touches
Okay.
everything in the brewery and kind of ends up rusting things and
Yeah.
patina things up
Leaving his
because
mark.
he's looking for
Yeah.
that. He's looking for that beer.
That's interesting.
Now
That's
he's a
dope.
10-tentacled sea monster. So inside, next to you, and in the gallery, you'll see 4 tentacles, all the same size, all the same, coloring. Then on the outside are 6 tentacles, because he only has 10.
Right.
So there's 6 tentacles outside that are going up the columns and around that he's looking for. So it's almost like our brewery is sitting in the middle of 10 tentacles.
Oh, that's dope.
And he's looking for that beer.
Yeah.
Because that's his MO.
He
He's
found a home.
thirsty.
He found
Yeah.
a home.
So
Yeah.
now he's here. So Tentacle's a very, he's a friendly dude. He likes beer, and there may be opportunities for kids to during the day when it's the aquarium, they might be able to sit down and color some stuff with Tentacle on it.
Yeah.
We might have a plush toy they'll sell down at the aquarium of Tentacle.
Oh, that'd be cool as shit.
There might be some merchandise from Native that's gonna have 16 Lots logo and some tentacles on it. That's
Oh,
an
yeah.
homage to Tentacle.
Yeah. that's-
So that's the whole the theme.
That's awesome, man. I love the storytelling on it too, man, because that takes the brand so much further when there's a story to tell. Because then, they're gonna go home and they're gonna talk about the story, not just the bar, right?
Yep.
And that's the thing that we found here, bro. Is if we can tell a story, people want to leave with something. So a lot of the stuff in the back room is tied into the experience. So
Yep.
the shirt that says, I found the lab and all I got was this effing T-shirt.
Yeah.
Or a T-shirt that's got the 7-Up door and it's got this Twilight Zone feel where the 7-Up door is out in outer space and there's all stars and shit that are on the shirt.
Yep.
But it's if we can tell a story that then somebody's not going to just go home and just say, "Hey, I bought this shirt from a store in Cincy or Newport." They're going to tell the story of well, the 7-Up door. I walked through the 7-Up door to get to the room and that's where I found this shirt. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. And there's a lot of tourists, right, that
Yep.
come through Newport on the
a
Levee.
lot
Lots.
of tourists.
So
bro.
when it comes to that, it's
Lot.
hey, I want that experience. I want the local folks to get our passport, our 16 Lots passport, where they actually can stamp out each beer they have and they can explore. Because I'm building this for beer travelers,
Yeah.
right? So whether or not it's from someone from New Zealand, when you walk in, you're gonna see this big map of the world with the ladders that are on libraries.
Oh yeah.
So they can tell their server, hey, I'm from New Zealand. We'll go open up that, and they can get up on the ladder, and they can put their pin in New Zealand because I want this to represent an Explorers Club and people from all over
very
the
cool.
world, right? So they can come in, and they can actually experience beer and explore through our beer and our cuisine. But because it's they're tourists, there's this whole other aspect of it, and it's that experience of Tentacle.
Yeah.
And whether or not they're hey, I'm this is a really good Czech lager.
Yeah.
This is a really good Italian Pilsner. This is a really good IPA. This is a beer that was made with sake yeast. This is a beer that made with champagne yeast. This is a beer de garde from France. All these things. So they could do this passport program, end up with a free shirt or something when they finish
Yeah.
finish the passport. It's an Explorers Club. People are looking for treasure. There
Yeah.
might be some gold coins. As an after dinner mint, it might be a gold coin that we give the kids.
That's
and,
awesome,
things
dude.
like that.
Yeah.
Just to create a really good experience.
That's literally what we are trying to do here. It's all about collection of memories, and people come back here, and each time they come here, it's a new memory because we change the room a lot.
Yep.
We're always changing the store, so like people are like looking for the newest thing. Where you're at is the experiences. Come back and you're gonna experience more of the exploration.
Yeah.
And so like we're both exploring in different ways,
Yeah.
and that's the beauty of it. Like,
Yep.
and I mean, the Levee's doing a really good job of bringing people here that are creating these experiences.
I mean, not only that too, but you've got, if you're doing this Explorers Club, like you're gonna get people that normally would only drink raspberry wheat beer to step out of
Right.
their boundary, and if you've got faith in the beer that you're producing, then you can say, hey, most IPAs, you might not like, but try this one. This is made in house, and it's, by the way, that would be my wife's go-to right there.
It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
so good.
Right.
I think she's allergic to IPAs.
Oh.
So after like the second drink, she'll start sneezing.
Yeah.
Some
But-
people are allergic to hops.
But she loves it, bro.
Does she smoke weed?
Yeah, yeah.
So weed and hops are very similar. So a lot of people that say they're allergic to marijuana, they're allergic to hops too.
Okay. Well, then I guess she's not allergic to hops.
So, but it could be something in the yeast,
Yeah.
right? Because it's a living thing.
It's funny though, man. It's like literally like the second that she has the beer, I'll look over and she'll just like,
Yeah.
I guess you love it.
Yeah, right.
It's like if
Right.
it makes her sneeze, she loves it.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, dude. So do you have an opening date of?
Yeah.
of
So
when-
we're, May 19th.
there it is.
So
bro.
May 19th and 20th is opening weekend. We will do a couple soft openings before that we'll do for friends and family. We'll also do press and industry.
Okay.
So you guys will see that. What we'll do is we'll put it out on social media. So like I'm not gonna send invites to all the people that I know in the industry because it's like that's thousands, right? I'm not gonna do that.
And then you leave one person out, and that
And
dude's
they
like,
get
"Why didn't you
salty."
invite me?" It's
Right.
like, bro,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Right.
like-
So I'm going to put it on social media, and I'm going to say, hey, if you're reading this and you're industry, slide into my DMs. I'll send you an invite.
Smart.
So people watch for it on social media. Watch for it through the leadership team here at 16 Lots, and you'll get the invite.
Awesome, man. And that's a month away, bro. Are you ready?
5
You ready?
weeks.
You ready to open this?
5 weeks. It's taken too long as it is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, like the Levee's great to be a part of, but because of where we are and everything else, it's kind of hard to do construction projects just because there's a lot of, the other tenants, there's other tenants. And
Oh,
they're like,
yeah.
oh, the guy's kind of loud. It's like, we need to shut that down. We're trying to do, we have the law firm upstairs.
Yeah.
And like, hey, like, we're doing business up here. And you guys are like jackhammering floors. Like, save that for Saturday.
Yeah,
or like,
right.
we're building a steel, truss underneath the garage to support our
Bro,
tanks.
I cannot. That's something I wanted to talk
Yeah,
about because that is crazy.
Yeah.
That whole construction down there is
Yep.
like wow.
Right.
I mean,
So
serious-
these floors that we're on
serious
right now,
movement,
right,
yeah.
we're on the second floor.
Yeah.
Below us is the parking garage.
Mm-hmm.
And then part of my brewery is actually over the levee itself. It's not even, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Right? So these are 10-inch concrete floors. They still will not support on their own our brewing tanks full.
Right.
So we have 6 fermenters that when full are about 8,800 pounds a piece.
Oh, wow.
So it's about 4.5 tons,
Yeah.
right? Then I have 3 serving vessels behind the bar, which are each 8,800 pounds. So instead of serving beers served out of kegs,
Mm-hmm.
our 3 most popular beers are going to be served right out of those big tanks.
Holy
They used to
cow.
do it at like Rock Bottom.
That's dope.
They'll do it at Hop for House
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So there's 40 kegs worth of beer in one of those tanks. So our 3 most popular come right out of that, right? Super fresh.
Super fresh.
Right? Like, I mean, yeah.
as
So-
fresh as it gets. Yeah.
Right off the tap.
Right off
So
the
we
tap.
literally have all of these, like, thousands and thousands of pounds of liquid sitting on these 10-inch floors. So we had to build a 90-foot truss, steel truss, to reinforce that, just so that we would pass inspections.
I mean, it's crazy, bro, because what we're talking about is that in the parking lot downstairs, there was, at first, I saw them cut out like a little square hole, and I'm like, what are they doing? They trying to put a store down here?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I'm like, maybe they're trying to do an exit. I'm like, nope, that goes to the water. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, what's above this place, dude?
Right.
Because it was like,
Yeah.
not now they cut out the whole wall,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, I mean that was something that obviously the Levee didn't know was gonna have to happen. I'm sure you had no clue that.
No clue.
So
It was marketed to us as like brewery ready. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
that can mean a lot. I mean, tanks can be very small for a
Right.
brewery. Tanks can be pretty large. When
I'm-
we do our analysis here, we're like, we're going to move a lot of beer in this space. there's millions of people that come to the Levee every year.
Oh yeah.
So we needed X amount of size.
Right.
So because of that and the amount of tanks we're putting in.
I mean that, like, not only that, but the fact that that's the old J Hall, man. Like,
Yeah.
I tell the story so many times where it was like, the early what was it, like 2010 maybe that was down here, but maybe earlier than that. But I remember walking around here at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning when that place would close, and I would always be amazed that I'm even allowed to walk through here to my car at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Right, and it's just like one of those
That
things
place
where,
was hopping.
dude, Monday nights there were crazy.
Wednesday nights were like $1 Bud Lights.
Wednesday, yeah, bro, because that was they tied into Party in the Park. So as soon as Party in the Park was over, everyone would just travel over the Purple People Bridge and come right here. It was like the perfect after party for the party.
Yeah.
I just thought of something just because I know how creative you guys are and like what I do. How cool would it be to like behind, like next to one of these T-shirt aisles, have just a little pass-through window with a QR code, and like if people would know, like while they're shopping, if they want to get like a burger to go, they could be like scan that QR code, and then through that window would be like the to-go box with like a burger. They're like shop for a shirt, they take their burger home with them.
That'd be fire, bro.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? That'd be so cool.
Right.
Because everything we do over there is going to be like kind of, it's QR code based,
Yeah.
and it's all individual. So like when you come in and sit down at 16 Lots, every table has a QR code on it.
Specifically to that table.
To that table.
Yeah.
You scan it, it pulls up the whole menu. You start a tab from your phone, and like you literally can order whatever, and then runners will bring it out, whether it's a beer, a cocktail, or food.
Mm-hmm.
So this would just be another number that we could put over here, like boop, and then people would just like, hey, here's my burger to go.
Bro, anything we can do to bounce a ball on the court, I'm here for, bro, for sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, I'm super excited because I've been holding you to the fire on that native beer, man.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's the perfect juxtaposition, man. You moving in next door, you guys, you're gonna have a walk up window too, right? Where you guys can sell like to go beer.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yeah,
dude.
so we bought a whole crowler machine. So like a crowler is a can growler. So a growler is like what people like in Kentucky, especially back then. My dad was from Kentucky. He used to call it a jug of beer.
Mhm.
You get a jug of beer.
Yeah.
That's a growler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So if you do that in a can where you actually put the top on it and it's good for a long time,
Spins it and
right?
locks
Spins
it
it,
in.
right? That's called a crowler.
Yeah.
So we have a crowler machine that we can do 16-ounce cans or we can do 32-ounce cans.
Oh,
so
nice.
we have that at our ability. We also have the ability to do our regular cans. So our 12-ounce cans that we can bring down from Mason, we can sell those here as well. So we'll have a small like little cooler and a little option that you can actually crowler some beer. Like, hey, number 12, we have 32 taps of beer.
Wow.
So number 12 is delicious. Can I get that to go? You want it in 16 or 32? Bam, bam, done.
Yeah.
So we will have that. Your Dido Fido or Fido Dido 513 concept with all the different area codes is fire.
Thank you,
I
dude.
love that.
Yeah.
Like from a kid that, like I said, I was born in
Drinking
75.
drinking 7-Up cans with Fido
It's
Dido.
It's so like you
Nostalgic.
see it. It's
Very,
nostalgia. It's really recognizable. It's an international trademark. I mean, that was
Bro,
something like
it's
it was
it's
all over
everywhere.
the world.
Yeah.
So like it's crazy. I would love to do that, 100%. And whether or not like from your standpoint, yeah, you can't sell beer, but I can,
Mhm.
and I can package that beer and do that for you. So 100%, like we can have, and I love the concept of doing that for different area codes,
Yeah.
right? So 859, 513. Like,
I
that'd
mean,
be
you
super
got
cool.
like we're gonna have a leg up on every single person at the liquor store, because if we drop these in Chicago, even though no one knows who 16 Lots is in Chicago, you're gonna be walking down the aisle and you're gonna see Fido Dido on that 12 pack, and something's gonna strike a nerve
Right.
because
That's 312.
yeah,
Yep.
and I
312,
remember
yep.
I remember that character on the 7-Up cans, and
Yeah.
now I'm an adult and I don't drink 7-Up, I drink beer.
Right.
So it's already relatable to that.
Yeah.
I'm here for it, bro.
Yeah.
I'm still blown away that we were able to get that trademark, or that
Yeah, that's crazy.
that character. It's just the you got to hold on to your stuff,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
It's because you're a hustler, and people are slipping.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when someone slips on something like that, you're right there, ready to pick it up.
Trust me, bro. I'm still waiting for that Bad Boy logo to
See?
expire, man.
Yep.
Yeah. You remember the Bad Boy logo where it was a dude. It was just like a
Right.
black and white. He had he almost looked like like Guile
yeah.
from Street
Yeah.
Fighter.
He was on like
Yeah.
Pogs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they had the bad boy on Pogs with his.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's like
remember that.
spiky hair,
Yeah,
sunglasses, like
yep.
the
It's
bicep,
a bad boy.
like-
yeah,
Yep.
I've seen it on
Yeah, bro.
Pogs back in the day. Yeah,
Yep.
it's been a while.
He
for
was
me,
he was asking me. He was like, "How'd you even think about like finding that Fido Dido?" And it was like, "Bro, let me. I'm that nerd, dude. I'm like that
Yeah.
nerd
That's
that just
crazy.
literally just once I learned how to look up trademarks and everything, I just
Mhm.
started hog wild, bro. Just looking up
Yeah.
every single old logo that you know that tied into my childhood because
Yep.
a lot of that stuff is gone now, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of the trademarks have been abandoned or they're dead.
Yeah. Yep.
And it just so happened that Pepsi wasn't on their game and didn't hang
See?
on to it.
They just
They were
went with, they went
slipping.
that dot. They went that 7-Up dot, the spot.
Yeah.
Red, yeah.
The
They
spot.
just they transitioned. They're like, you know what? It's probably easier to market anyways because he's smaller. They can put him on everything. The Fido Dido, there's a lot to him. The
Yeah.
shoes, how his legs is, how
Yeah.
lanky he is. There's a lot to him. So it's probably on their end, probably smart. But like, let's go cost effective, and we don't need any more. Like,
I mean,
the-
cool
the-
Spot had his own video game.
Yeah,
So
like-
that
Right.
that-
You need to look up. It just made me think of like the prunes and the grapevine.
Yep.
Like I heard it through the grape. Remember those?
Still active.
So you're already on it.
Yeah, bro. Yeah,
You already know. That's a good.
through the
Yeah, that's a
grapevine.
good one.
Yeah, I still remember getting those little pad papers from
Yep.
the school, 75 cents or whatever.
yeah.
And I would always get the California raisins, man.
Yep.
But yeah, dude, like that's one of those things where it's like, as artists, man, we're just in here, we're just trying to find the best ways to fine tune our vehicle, right? And when I
Yep.
saw that, I'm like, dude, that'd be perfect for the brand because, like Fido Dido, like his motto was like, he's not black, he's not white, he's not a guy, he's not a girl, like he
Yep.
is Fido Dido.
Yep.
And so, like for me, I was like, man, that's perfect, dude. And then when you moved in next door, because I always had the idea of trying to do the beer, and then when you moved in next door, I was like, oh, dude, this is like divine intervention.
Yeah.
where he's
Yeah.
coming in here. Where this could be perfect. So
The hardest part is going to be, like you said, because this is for the masses.
mm-hmm.
So we need a really low price point.
yeah,
And that, when it comes to packaging, even though you own the art and the art is ready to roll, just cans, aluminum,
everything, bro.
cans, like
I mean,
wraps, it's all expensive.
Oh, for sure.
So that's gonna be the hardest part is pulling that off.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure we can make something happen for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm confident we can too.
Stickers. Just kidding.
Yeah, just slap them on there.
Yeah. So you can peel it off anyways.
Yeah, you can put on something else. Have
Right.
a message underneath it, so when they peel it off, like we know what you did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
It could be
sexually frustrated
No.
with a question
well,
mark.
then what I
'cause-
would do is I would just stick a code under it. Type this code in
Right.
under this website. Come here.
Yep.
I don't know.
They could be
just send-
hyper. They could be hyper color too.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
they're cold, you know they're cold, and when they're warm,
Right.
they're warm.
Yep.
You know what's crazy? That technology is actually the exact same technology in the Coors Light can.
And the mountains turning blue.
Yep. Yeah, it's called Luco dye. It's a certain type of crystal that basically just turns clear at a certain degree. So
I love it.
yeah, that's fun stuff, man. I learned a lot when I was doing that whole hypercolor shit back in the day, but it was I digress. It's
Yeah.
we talk about that a lot.
Do you pick up
We
surf
did.
style too?
No, bro. But I have a surf style jacket, and it is still fire to this day. Actually,
Yeah.
you know what, man? These chairs are Sharper Image.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's Sharper Image. Used to sell the. I don't think they sold surf style. I think they had a different version, but it was definitely
Yeah.
that iridescent
Yeah.
purple to green
Yeah.
like jacket.
Shop that catalog when you're on a flight.
Yeah, bro. I've always wanted the. There was like a statue of Bigfoot that I saw in there, and I was like, I need this thing.
Gotta have it.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. I don't know why I need it, but I need it.
What I needed.
Yeah, I ended up picking up a silhouette of Bigfoot from what's the Urban Outfitters down there in Clifton.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They had a bunch of these like wood cutout things that they had
Yep.
up against the wall, and one day I was in there and they were just selling all of them. I think I bought it for like $25, man. But it's like a 6 foot tall like.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of
Bigfoot.
those like Yetis that are like by the you put them on the corner of your house.
It's
or
just
barn
yeah,
or
it's just black.
garage
It's just
or, like,
dark
yeah.
looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super dope, man.
Heck yeah.
All right, bro. So Let's see what else. I mean, we hit everything on.
Yeah.
We have everything. I do have.
I think we did.
I have a
yeah,
question.
go
though.
for it.
So you've told some pretty cool stories, stuff like that. You got to talk to the Vatican.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
dude.
That's one of the coolest stories I've heard on this podcast to this day. But
Over beer too.
for beer, right? There's anybody that you've met along your way that have stuck out to you that you were starstruck by, even if they weren't like a major celebrity, they were just someone you heard their story because they were inspired because of your stories. So they're like, you know what, here's mine. Do you have anyone that has stand out in your travels that you're like, man, there was this guy, like any circumstance, group of people, like meeting monks or anything like that, like has stand out? Because I mean, traveling a lot and being a part of that, you're probably in rooms with many different types of people that are low key. They don't want people to know how good they are or what they do. They just do their grind. You know, like anyone that has stuck out.
Well, when you say that, the first thing that comes to mind is that everyone always says, the first thing that people say, like, I did that when I was in college. I did that. I did that. Like, you just drink beer. And they're thinking, like, I drank a lot of beer in college, but then they ate pizza and shit, right? That's what they
Right.
do.
Yeah, 2 o'clock
So
in the morning.
you hear that. You hear that a lot.
Right.
Oh, I did that. And then you hear, like, so people reach out constantly to say, like, hey, next year I'm going to do this with you. I want to do this. I want to do this as well. And, like, I do the whole disclaimer, like, hey, like, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical person. Like,
This
how
is
it
what
affects
works
me
for
may
me.
not work for you, right?
like,
yeah.
don't, like, Then the year of COVID, I actually had a whole church in Kansas City. The priest of this church says, I'm going to do that this year, and I'm going to have all my parishioners, whoever wants to do this with us, we're going to follow you, and we're going to do this. So I had like a whole church.
Holy
Some
cow!
followers. Okay.
A
Right?
whole church.
Like
Like
a whole
but
church.
drink beer.
A whole church, right? So a priest was like, hey, we're all going to do this.
Yeah.
It was a Catholic church, obviously.
Sure.
COVID happened. They didn't do it. They were all too worried about COVID. They were like, oh, we're going to get sick. So they didn't do it.
Yeah.
So out of all the years that everyone always says, like, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, no one's ever done it except last year. One dude from Portland, Oregon did it with me.
Oh, okay.
So
Nice.
it
You're
was
brothers
really
for
fun.
life now, dude.
It was really fun. Like,
Yeah.
his name's John Shubin, and he did it in Portland, Oregon.
Shout out.
And it was so
Yeah.
crazy that, like, someone actually said they were going to do it. Because I get
Yeah, sure.
20, 25 people every year. Oh, I'm going to do this with you. Let me know when it's Lent. It's not like I can tell you next year when
Right,
Lent's
right,
going.
right.
I'll tell you when
It's
I'm doing it.
right? It's like, yeah. And, like, I'll give you pointers. I've done tons of, like, almost like counseling sessions with people. Like, all right, when you do this, like, no one's ever done it except that dude. That
Okay.
dude did it. It was like he started a lot smaller than me. He lost like 33 pounds, and he's got like a cool. It's called like Hops and Brews, like YouTube channel and stuff.
Okay.
But it was really funny because like people will call him and say like, like, hey, how'd you end up doing this? And it was like, well, Del Hall, like he like tells him, So they ran a thing on like in his like Portland, Oregon radio and just said like, hey, we want to interview you. And they had the big thing about me and like how he ended up doing that.
That's
so
awesome.
he was like he followed through. Like I
Yeah.
gave him like a lot of props.
Did
for
he give
that
you like
'cause-
updates through it?
Yeah,
or
like
anything?
he was like he was on his YouTube channel and like stuff like that. So you, like,
Okay,
you saw it
yeah.
all
So
the
he's
time.
documented the whole thing.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it
Great.
was that was crazy. So
That is cool.
That was a really good one.
Okay, yeah, cool. That's exactly what I wanted because like
Yeah.
you're in rooms with many different people.
Yeah.
You're traveling all these different
Yeah.
things, and there's some people out there that are doing stuff so low key or whatever the case, and then someone that wants to be like you or do something of
Yeah.
that level, that magnitude. Because I mean that's a
Right.
40. I mean,
I
40
think a
days,
lot of it
46
is like
days.
a lot of it's like interactions, because like when you interact with people and people like just blow you away.
Yeah.
So like and people you don't even think about.
Sure.
You have no idea. Like all of a sudden like Salt Bay.
Yeah.
Will be like, this guy here, and he'll like post this big thing about me. It's like he's like like wow, like that kind of thing about me. And I'm like, get like Salt Bay, like that's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Like George Takei. Like,
Oh, yeah.
my, like
Yeah.
that, like him, like listen to what this guy's doing. Oh my, like like this Del Hall, like I'm like get out of here, and you hear your name by these like like I said, I was like I'm like
Voice actors, man. They're
right.
just you've heard them for your life.
I got like I was like I was on like the Trailer Park Boys like podcast, and like like Bubbles. He was like like just talking about me, and they're talking about like drinking beer and like these guys that are on TV shows and movies and like. And you hear them just talking about it. It's so crazy. It's surreal.
It's surreal. I was gonna say it probably
It's
just
crazy.
felt like
It's nuts.
a dream the whole time. You're just
Yeah.
in this
Get outta
world,
here.
and you're just and you were
Right.
like you said it out
Right.
loud, and then it just sucked you in.
Right. I had like so like after that first year and it was just blowing up and like people were like, what's next? And I was like, I would set these like goals in my head. I'd be like, would it be really cool if this, and then like one of my big ones was Jimmy Fallon. So
Yeah.
Jimmy Fallon literally talked about me on his monologue.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right? And I
That's
was
awesome.
like, get out of here. Like that happened. So they're like, what's next? And I'm like, I would love to see some version of my story on Saturday Night Live Weekend Update,
Yeah.
where like they even have like a fake drunk guy come out, or just
Oh,
like
that'd be
my
great,
story.
dude.
But that's like now it's like James Corden, Adam Carolla, like Ellen, like every Jay Leno, like all these. It's been mentioned on so many shows, and I've been on so many shows. Like that's like Saturday Night Live would be like the tops. That would be amazing.
Okay, so yeah, so you got that.
That's my next.
The
that's-
peak, yeah. That's that, dude. That's.
We
I
need to
mean,
get you to host Saturday Night Live.
Yeah,
Let's
I
go.
was
Get
gonna
out of
say.
here. Yeah, I'm still just the beer guy.
Hey, that's entertaining though.
Yeah.
It's entertainment, bro. Especially
Yeah.
if you did it during the fasting, and then you did nothing
Yeah.
but drink during the.
Yeah, I did.
Saturday Night Live.
Like I mean, like they got a hold of me and had me do like audition for like TED Talks and stuff like that. So I've done those things where I've gone and like done like a
Oh,
a TED
wow.
Talk, and then it's like,
The-
well,
the
you
highest
don't-
of praise.
Yeah,
the
they're like
TED Talks.
so is there anything that like is like beneficial for people? And I was like, well, you lose weight, you do this, you do that, and they're like, yeah, but it's not like it's more motivating. Like we need to be like motivating. Like we need you to do this and do that. And I was like, well, isn't like the E in TED like entertainment?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
it's just this is just for entertainment. Like I don't need like so.
Yeah.
That was you said something earlier, man, and it's stuck with me in my head, and it's that all your senses heightened as you your body's depleted of all of its nutrients, and it's like that's crazy to think that we're just primal at the end of the day, because like your senses are heightening, and I never thought of it that way. Is it's trying to smell for food,
Yep.
and like your
Survival.
yeah, dude. Like, and your body knows it, so
Yeah.
your body's like, I'm gonna enhance your vision and heighten your senses, so you can go find me a fucking meal.
That's
so I can-
exactly that's what it does.
yeah, which is
It's
it's
crazy.
insane to think,
That
man.
is. That is. I mean, man, that like the fact. First off, when your body's going through this like a transformation, I guess
Yeah.
is transforming because you're putting something in consistently and you're not giving it what it wants.
Yeah.
So when you're going through that, there's like, do you ever get like headaches or anything? How's your brain working in this process?
So your actual part of that like instinct and a part of that drive to get food is like you kind of lose like brain fog. So your actual mental acuity is top notch.
Oh, nice.
Like you don't feel like it's not like Rain Man where you're like I just spit out some math.
Right, yeah.
But I can also but it's like it's like when you're like just kind of out of it, it's not like that. You are like dialed in, like you have such attention. You can like the fog is gone.
There has to be something that was negative to the experience, right? Was it? I mean, is your energy like always up? Is it something where you fall
Energy-
asleep
yeah.
super quick? Like,
Energy is always up, but there's no like lung capacity like to do like cardio.
Yeah.
So like you could like run after food real quick or like quickly get something, but you couldn't like run
Upstairs.
a mile
Oh, okay.
and get because your all your organs kind of shrink.
Mm-hmm.
So your lungs shrink, your liver shrinks, your kidneys shrink, and like when you take away all the nutrients, they don't like atrophy. They bounce right back, but they all shrink. So your lungs actually you have less lung capacity, so you don't really like So that's a really bad one. And then also like without being like too like TMI or like really getting like about like
Grotesque.
bathroom
Yeah.
habits.
Sure.
But if you think about it, so I still went to the bathroom every day, but it's liquid in, liquid out.
Okay.
So you still go to the bathroom every single day, but it's just
Yeah.
liquid.
To be expected.
Just liquid.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't expect anything else. I would assume the liquid's going in, liquid's coming out. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I
Yep.
mean,
And that gets real old.
yeah.
I
It gets,
Sure.
it gets
I
real
believe
old.
that.
I'm like I said, I'm bougie though. Like I have a bidet and stuff. So like
I was literally just gonna say some toilet paper needs to sponsor you, bro.
nope. Bidet.
Yeah.
I'm a bidet and wet wipe guy. Like I don't mess around with any toilet paper.
There you go, bro.
Same.
He's ready for COVID.
Baby wipes, bro.
Yeah, baby
Wipes.
oh,
are
yeah.
the- yeah.
I learned about baby wipes in the army.
Yep.
Like you use them for everything. They're
Yep,
amazing.
for
I
sure.
keep them in my glove box. I keep them everywhere.
Same.
Like, you better believe it.
He's got them
On the
attached
road,
to his bag.
Like, I feel like now, like when we go somewhere, if like when I travel, I like take baby wipes with me and stuff, and like it's like barbaric not
use
have,
toilet paper?
It is barbaric.
Yeah,
I'm like, how did I do this for so many years?
Right.
Yeah, I've always done baby wipes, so
Yes.
like that's been the way always since I can remember. Yeah, I never transitioned
It's like
to
not
toilet
even.
paper.
It's not civilized.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, exactly. The
Mhm.
baby wipes are just so convenient, so clean.
Yeah.
Everything about it is upside.
Yeah.
And yeah.
They need
But
to,
no bidet.
No bidet.
We'll step up.
I'll level up.
I mean, like
give me some
literally,
time.
level up.
I'll
to
level
bidet.
up.
You can get like on Amazon the ones that are like $69.99. They're great. Like whatever the price. Like they're super. You put them on your normal toilet. Amazing. And then you're only one wipe at a time.
there you go.
It's amazing.
Wow.
Telling you right now.
Game
That's a
changer.
level up.
Yeah, it is a level up. I'm take notes. I'm taking notes.
They need to bring
Constantly,
back.
so.
They need to bring out the 3 shell. I'm still waiting for the 3 shells. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
absolutely.
I still have no clue. Like, and I'm sure that they made that so. There was this movie called The Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone,
yeah.
and Yaman was talking about him earlier. The black dude. Who's the black dude in the movie? Why am I drawing it?
I know.
He's like one of the greatest actors of all time.
Demolition Man.
Demolition Man. We were just talking about him playing Dennis Rodman.
Oh.
No.
No.
The act. I'm just gonna look him up, bro.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
We all have Google machines in our pocket.
Hey man, it's YouTube University, Google University, whatever you want to use.
Everyone's
it.
yelling out his
screen.
name right
Right.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes, bro.
Wesley Snipes.
Jesus, Wesley
Yeah.
Snipes. So in that movie, it's about the future, and Sylvester Stallone doesn't know how to use the bathroom. He was like, you guys need toilet paper, and they were like, the 3 shells were right there. He's like, how do you use the 3 shells? And they were like,
Yeah.
he doesn't know how to use the 3 shells.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, that is so outrageous. Like whatever they did to do that scene, it's like I'd still on my mind. Like, how would you use 3 shells to wipe yourself, dude? I'm so confused on this.
Right.
I don't know.
But they need to bring it out, or they need
Yeah.
to give an explanation for sure.
We need an explanation.
Yeah.
We demand one. So the internet is speaking.
Right.
Hope you listen.
Demolition Man's fire though, bro. That was like the future of 2000.
I feel like it wouldn't age well though. I haven't seen it in a while. I feel like it wouldn't age well.
You know what? You never know, man. It was like, I do remember that they said that Taco Bell was the only fast food joint to survive, and all the guns were in museums now.
Yeah.
And I gotta watch that again, dude.
Yeah.
That movie was incredible back in the day.
Yeah. It was a fire pinball machine.
Oh, really? I didn't even know there was a pinball
Yeah,
machine.
they had a pinball machine. It was fire.
Dude, if you want some pinball machines over there, Chris Brock,
We got a guy.
He's a guy that he knows a lot about ChatGPT. We had him on the podcast a while ago. But he builds pinball machines, and what he does is he'll take all the guts out and he'll put an LED screen in there,
Yeah.
so you can play 20 different pinball games.
Nice.
Or he'll build an arcade unit that has like the whole MAME system in
Right.
it, where you can play every game.
You just
in
like
it.
select. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, dude. He's
crazy.
we were gonna get one for here, but it's like we have 0 room, and the kids that come through here, it's like they'll just ruin it, man. Unless you gotta actually put a quarter in.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're just gonna be in here all day,
They'll
bro.
ruin it.
And they'll be asking us for quarters all day.
Yeah.
We just don't have enough quarters. For
Quick,
that.
I got 9 seconds left. Give me another quarter.
Right.
Well, you remember that from back in the day,
Yeah.
bro? Like losing in Mortal Kombat, and you got one more. You got 9 seconds to put that quarter in before you got to start all over.
I got 1 quarter. Give it to me. You don't have it anymore. It's mine. But Chris is the man. We'll introduce you.
Cool.
I think he'd be able to help you out with something as well.
Yeah.
His technology's all over the place. We're gonna be working on a new selfie station with him and stuff like that.
Very
so
cool.
yeah,
he knows how to build apps and like do
Yeah.
the whole 9. So
Nice.
and like when he came in here, like he's got his own business. He does his own thing, and when he came in here, like he just loved what we were doing, and he was like, bro, like what I do. Like this is what I want to do, what you guys are doing, but what I'm doing, I can implement here, and then we can just
Yeah. See,
spin
just
off
surround yourself
space.
with creative people.
Yep.
So surround yourself with talented people.
Collective.
It's, you know what, man, and this podcast, stage being right in the window really does that, man. People walk in and right away they go, what do you guys do here? It's like, well, we interview local natives of the area. If you've got a business or a musician or something, and right away it's either they've got something they want to talk about, or they know somebody that they want to get on.
Absolutely.
Here. So it's a perfect
I love it.
opening.
It really stands out to you.
So this area right over here, man, are they gonna let you put chairs out?
We can do whatever we want there. So
Awesome,
at the
bro.
beginning, I'm just gonna kind of build a scene.
Mm-hmm.
So with that nautical rope, and kind of like I'm gonna make it kind of look like in front of the glass is gonna get vinyl decals with some like portholes in it, so you can look in and see our tanks. And I'll put some down for the kiddos, so the kiddos can look down and see it as well. But it's almost like a dock. So I'm gonna have some ropes and some stanchions, like posts that come out, and then I'm gonna put like some of our more ornate like grain. Our grain comes from like all over the world. Like our German Pilsner, we get the grain from Germany. They have these really cool bags, big grain bags. I'm gonna stack those out there on like pallets and like almost like a dock, like it's part of the frontage.
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like it's not just like
a
2D,
port.
it's like 3D, right? With that.
That's
So I'm gonna
awesome,
start with
man.
that, and then
Awesome.
if we want to put some more seating out there.
That's incredible,
It's
bro.
the details.
I think
the details are
Yep.
top tier.
yeah.
Detail.
Yep.
All about it. I mean, it's at the end of the day, you're trying to have someone feel a certain type of way and put them in that environment, submerge them into that world.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna feel like they're out of the reality, and
Right.
not only gonna spend more money when it comes down
right.
to it, but they're gonna have the
It's
experience.
immersive.
Everything, immersive,
Yeah,
and
it's
everything
immersive.
is gonna feel like they're
Yeah.
getting experience without even having to spend $1.
Right.
And then it's gonna compile to people like, you know what, like. They're gonna bring their families there.
They're gonna
Everything's
want to
just
come
gonna
back.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
the big thing, bro.
It's the immersive is everything.
It's details that to come full circle.
Details, yeah.
Like like I feel like back in the day, like when I read Catcher in the Rye, J.D. Salinger, like in 8th grade, right? And there was a theme in there about being a phony, right? And like that's always resonated with me from the time I was in 8th grade. So when I started this whole thing about the beer fast and stuff, it was about, am I a phony for telling the story about a beer without experiencing it like the monks did?
Right.
I didn't want to be that phony. So with this brewery, I don't want to be like, it's a lot of fake stuff. I want to actually make it, the whole experience is going to be as unique as possible, but it's also going to be genuine. So like our tables, I'm getting like steel tables, but then I am actually putting the elbow grease in those to finish them and to rust them with chemical processes so that everything
Hell
has
yeah.
a patina on it. Like I'm doing a lot of that work so that, when you look at it, you're going to know like, okay, I see this scene. This scene is set. Like, and it's genuine.
Yeah.
It's not like what comes to mind is like Max and Irma's or TGI Friday, right? Like those kind of places. Like you literally can like thumb through a catalog and say like, I'll take
these
this,
chairs.
and it's the same thing, and you put them up, and it's like like when I put things up, and I put things that like whether it's a print or it's a poster or it's the rope or it's like these are genuine things that like have that energy of it being genuine in that.
Yeah.
It's not fake.
Can
And
only
that-
be
I
found
want,
here,
I want
too.
people to have that
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, it can only be found here
Yep.
in this spot. This is the experience.
Yep.
And immerse yourself into it. Put yourself in our world, and you won't regret it. Like you'll be here.
Yeah.
And that's everything. Like it's how I feel here. Like when people come to the store and they're like walking around and they're kind of like gauging everything before they even find the lab. They're just kind of like looking around like, man, there's something here. They've got a vibe. They can feel the energy. Some people overlook it and they walk out, but then some people are like, they look around like there's more to.
Yeah.
More than meets the eye, like, and
Yep.
they'll know, and the energy's there, and like, I think that immersive experience that we put in here,
Yep.
the interactive retail aspect, they're in it. Once they vibe, once they get it, once you get it, they don't leave. Their mental state's here, like, I am going to get something out of this.
Right.
Usually, kids figure it out right away,
Yeah.
but once the adults feel like there's more to it. Man, they get into it. They start questions.
Yeah.
They start like
It's
wanting,
real-
brings the kid back out of them. Really,
It's real like hippy dippy and stuff to talk about so much about energy and vibes.
Oh, I love
and
it.
stuff,
I'm
right?
here for it.
But like, so I'm going so far that I'm going so far that like so when I have steel, you can put like distilled vinegar, you can put like copper sulfate, and like it's like root killer. And you can put that in, and like it'll rust things. You
Oh,
can
we
put
got some
salt- you can
stuff
put
that'll
salt
rust
water.
it within
It'll rust
10
right.
minutes.
Right,
Yeah,
it does
yeah.
rust right up. But to hydrate that, I'm actually using our beer to hydrate it So our beer, the molecular structure of our beer, that hydration is going to be in the rust, in the patina of the stuff, so that the vibe is this whole place is like, it's not only a place that builds and makes beer, but it also, that beer helps build the place.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
It's incredible, bro.
That's awesome.
And the fact that you
Deep. Cool.
Yeah.
did the
Very cool.
Did Tentacle come after you signed the lease to the Levee, or was that already in your head before you signed the lease?
So we have, like, in the IPA world, so our flagship is Soak City, and that's the water park at Kings Island.
Yeah.
Right, 'cause we're in the backyard of Kings Island. That was like, so like when I came in and rebranded everything, the first thing I thought about was like, oh, these tentacles are cool. I want to, like, if we're gonna go down that road of like IPAs are always gonna kind of have a nautical theme.
Mm-hmm.
So like our subtle nuances, like New England IPA is kind of like a jellyfish, and like so everything that it's an IPA themed, it's going to be kind of like nautical.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had that nautical theme already for this, because one of our logo is a compass, and it's like a rose compass. So right, north, south, east, and west. North is our headquarters, which is Mason. That's where we got started. That's like the symbol there is Earth.
Mm-hmm.
This is south. The symbol's water.
Yeah.
So the element down here is water. We're on the riverfront, and we're going to use that throughout. So this is going to be more of a nautical theme.
I mean,
If we expand east and west, then we'll have, fire and air.
So what would fire consist of? I was just thinking that, man. It's like what?
Could be lots of things. I mean,
Yeah.
it could be like the sun. It could be lava. It could be charcoal. It could be like a place that does like
Charcoal's
barbecue, because that's the food is cooked on fire.
Fire.
It could be things like that.
Yeah. That's
Like
the
a
good thing about being an artist, man. It's
Yeah.
like I had a good friend, Jordan Blackmore, who told me, he was like, when he started the brand, he was like, don't pigeonhole yourself into a category. Leave it open so that you can have other opportunities later
Yep.
on. He's got he did have a hair salon in New York. It was called 3 Square Studio, and he just left it it was just 3 squares was the logo, and he never did it as like a hair salon or anything like that. So he ended up getting a Nike contract where they did like a Stefan Janoski Nike SB, and it had the 3 Square logo on the inside. And they were actually they used a Volt color, which was like the second time that they used that color. But like things like that, bro. Just hearing those things, and then noticing that if you just open up the edges a little bit, you're gonna have a lot further projection. Like when it comes to the native brand, like I was pigeonholed when I had my store in Rookwood. Like I was thinking Ohio, and I had a meeting with a guy from P&G, and I thought this was it. I thought this was the guy that was gonna come in and change my life. And he told me, he was like, this is a good business for Jay and his family, but it's not gonna put food on other people's tables.
Yep.
And I wanted to choke him. You know what I mean? Like when I heard that, because it's like, oh my God, I'm investing all my time and effort into this. But instead of getting angry, I looked at the situation and I said, he's right. Let's open up these walls a little bit. And then that's when we did the Arch logo with the different area codes.
Yep.
And that's when I became a chameleon, where we can drop this in Denver and then do native 303, where you a native of, and it looks like that clothing brand is from Denver.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's like we're able to pivot wherever we want to, and it's like, thankfully with the brand that we've got, like, we can go to the smallest cities in the United States, and as long as you have a high school, we can gear it towards those kids' colorways for the school.
Yep.
Or if you got a college team, like we can be a chameleon that
That's
way.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's and it's so broad too, because everyone, it may not be your favorite, like your team colors, whatever, but if you want to just get your favorite colorway, if you're a guy that likes all red but you're in a city that's all blue, you can get whatever you want. That's the beauty of it, because it's customization.
Yeah.
And it comes down to everyone being individualized and personalized, and like that's the thing that drew me the most is to the brand originally, is like literally we can do anything. Like I can have my UK colorway, we can have someone else, like Tyrell always is in that red and black. Like we can all be individuals
Yep.
in our own world.
Right.
And
But
we're
also
all
supporting the same brand.
exactly, we're all in the same collective, we're on the tribe, we're in the group, we're together. Even if you have different styles, we all have very different styles here. We're all very different. And it's a great thing. It allows everyone to be unique in their own right, and it doesn't even matter. And when it comes down to it, the fact that it doesn't matter what you are and we're all included. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
And I love it. It's great. It's all inclusive, and I'm a big person. I'm big into everyone being included. Everyone's invited to the party. There's no one excluded. If you don't choose to show up, it's cool. Fine. No, nothing hurting to me. No offense. Yeah. But if you are included, like, there's plenty of opportunity to be a part of it. You know, we got logos, we got, the arch logo, like he was saying, with the area codes. Then we got the lab. Like, there's different dynamics, and like all of it puts you in the same pot with everyone. We're all together still, and I'm huge with that because we have so many people that come in here, and everyone still is included. I don't care where you're from. It doesn't even matter. And it's like, this isn't for me. Well, it can be. Right. Because where are you from? What's your cell phone say? What are those 3 numbers?
Right.
And they're like, oh, it can be for me. Like,
that's right.
Exactly. Doesn't matter the age. Doesn't matter what you claim to be. Whatever, you're included, and there is no restrictions. Yeah. I think that is. I mean, it's literally perfection. Yeah. You can literally include everyone on the earth in some form or fashion. Because like we're also printing stuff that people love, like the logos, like stuff. Just everyone can buy. We got Looney Tunes, like we got all sorts of different stuff that like comes through, and that we try it out, and if it works, it doesn't. Like we're here for everybody, and I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it, and like it sounds like you as well, because like it seems like you're gonna have something for everyone, even the little ones. Yeah. Like even though you're selling beer, you were talking about a place where a little one can look through and see inside, where everything takes place. So like you're including everyone as well, and that's pretty cool. Like,
I'm doing it in a respectful way. Like I'm not marketing to them. I'm not trying to get them like hooked on beer as a youngster, or you know what I mean. Like there's lots of other ways that they can experience. I mean, I see lots of people who are into beer, and they try to share that with their kids without actually giving them beer. And there are lots of ways you can do that. So there's like I know a lot of people that like started like home brewing when they were like 18. They're making a product that they can't actually partake in.
Right.
True.
So, but I'm very happy to be part of that tribe now.
Yeah, man. So your YouTube channel, man. I want to check out some of these videos. So what's the YouTube?
So everything's under Sergeant Del. So SGTDEL. I was a sergeant in the Army, so it's Sergeant Del. So if you look up YouTube, it's Sergeant Del. Instagram is Sergeant Del. Twitter, I was late to the Twitter game, so that's Del_Hall. But yeah, Sergeant Del. And also, like, it's so widespread now. If you just Google Del Hall, which means of the sea in Scottish, so it's also Del Hall is like it's always comes up like the Hall of Fame in Spanish. Mm-hmm. So you have to do beer. So just put Del Hall beer, and you'll just see like all these like hits from all over the world.
That's awesome, man. All right, bro. It's 10 o'clock. Is there anything else you want to talk about? I mean, we can sit here for another half hour if you want to.
I'm good, man. I'm good. You guys hit it all. It was an amazing experience.
Awesome, dude. I appreciate you being a part of it, man. So May 19th is when you're opening. So we've got a month and 1 day, right? Today's the 18th. Man, I'm here for it, bro.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what you guys do. Yep. Do you know what the hours are going to be? Or
so we're going to do lunch service. We're going to do lunch service every day. So nice. We made that deal with coming into this. Like they really wanted some lunch providers. Yeah. So we're gonna do lunch every day. During the week it's like a 10 o'clock, stop. We're a brewery, but like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's gonna go to like 1:30.
Awesome, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it, bro. And you got the perfect spot too, man. Being able to come over here, grab a local brew, and then a cigar from Party Source, and watch the sunset over downtown.
Watch all the fireworks, like Friday night fireworks with the Reds, WEBN fireworks. I mean, it's ridiculous.
You guys got the spot, man. And then of course, I've been preaching to the Levee to make sure that we utilize that Purple People Bridge. I heard we can rent it for pretty cheap, and it's like, man, you guys need to like. Once a month, I would bring in 3 or 4 food trucks and set them out there, and then do a party at the end of the month. And then who knows, one of these food trucks are going to want to move in so it's all like I said, bouncing the ball on the court, man. Just sitting here and just keeping the Levee alive.
Yeah, love it.
But all right, man. I guess this is going to wrap up another episode of the PowWow.
Appreciate you coming on, man. It was awesome. Learned a lot. It was very insightful, and we're excited to have you.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, man. Excited.
I would say that I'd partake in the 46-day beer only thing, man. But I'm a sucker for pizza, bro. So it's gonna be hard for me to get off that train.
Right. We eat a lot of pizza.
We eat too much. That's the only thing we can eat down here, bro. That's the only thing that I can order that's big enough for the group before we go live on the podcast.
We're always getting Bourbon House pizza right here. Legit. Yeah, it's so good.
They're legit.
Bro.
Yeah. Shout out to them.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
Velocities over there. They got some
Yeah.
good pizza too.
Yeah, for sure. Velocity's food's fire, man. There's a lot of good food on Levee though. It's all coming together.
Yep.
We've been waiting
Getting
for
better by the day.
It is exciting.
Literally
It's
by the
coming-
day.
coming
By
back,
the
man.
day,
It's
yeah.
coming back.
I'm here for it, man.
Yeah, right.
All right, bro. Dell, I appreciate you being a part of this,
Yeah, man. Appreciate you.
Liquid Death, One Heart Medical. Oh, yeah, by the way, we're going to be at Short Vine on Thursday, 420, for the 420 block party. So we'll be set up right in front of the cupboard next to Dr. Weeks and the One Heart Medical team. So if you want to get your medical license in Ohio or Kentucky, you can either contact them or meet them down there. I've got a bunch of 420 hats and some 420 shirts we're going to be selling down there as well. So if you guys want to be a part of it, come on down. Like I said, we're right in front of the cupboard. We're going to have our own little booth out there, and I think we're going to be podcasting out of there too. So we'll have a podcast set up, a little microphone, so people can just walk up and say their
involved,
piece
yeah.
and keep moving, man.
Yeah.
So,
All
all right, everybody, it's your boy Jay Banks, AI, and the rest of the tribe. We will see you next week on another episode of the PowWow.
Hey, appreciate you.
There they are.
Hey, what up?
All right, bro.
Yeah, man.
We'll see you next
Later,
week.
guys.
Later.
Bye. Yo.
Yeah. Del Hall in the books.
Episode 163.
163.